What's up, everyone? Make sure you check out the West West Network website at westwestnet.com. Here you can find amazing independent podcasts based in Aotearoa, covering everything from pop culture to mental health. Also, if you enjoy our content and want to support us, please consider clicking on the support button on the homepage of the website. We appreciate your patronage and look forward to delivering more thought-provoking and quality conversations.
West, y'all.
This is amateur.
Hey,
This is amateur night with me.
It's good. Well, yeah, manuna.
Oh, John, thanks for coming in, brother.
Thanks for having me,
It's been a
man.
long time because, we've been busy this whole year.
Yeah.
With personal stuff happening to both of us, in fact,
Yeah.
and work and other things. But, this has been a long time coming, this talk, because I always wanted you to come on. And ever since we hooked up with your fight last year.
Oh, yeah.
What was that again?
Yeah, it was charity fundraiser for
It's about,
Fight for Life.
yeah. But it's for mental health, eh?
Yeah. I can't remember. It was Mike King's.
Yeah. He was one of the organizers,
Organisers, yeah.
and he sort of did the MC. But isn't that like a thing where corporates get into it?
Yeah. So it's
Heavy
I think
hitters?
it's called
Heavy
heavy IT.
IT
hitters.
heavy.
Yeah.
That's it.
Too many bangs to the head.
Nah, that was good. That was a good initiative, because when I first heard about it, it was one of those back in the day. Paul used to work at your work,
Yeah.
and he went on it, and that was the first time I heard about it. And I think he did the interview on their Facebook page, and he came on this podcast too to talk about it. So
wow.
that was a year before. Cause did you go that first year? Cause how many times have you been on?
I've done it twice now.
Twice. And were you there when Paul did it for the first time?
Nah, that was after.
Oh yeah.
And then Paul came up and he told me about it. And I was like, oh, yeah, I'm keen for it as well, man. So you actually get to fight IT guys? Because I'm in IT and I thought, it must be just for IT guys. But it doesn't matter what walk of life you come from. Everybody, it's all about, trying to raise awareness for mental health. So, I just gave it a jam because, I'm 40 now. So, getting old. But still, act like a 21, 28-year-old.
Yeah, no, it was really good. It was really good. And, yeah, like we said, the initiative too, mental health and that. But it's also cool because these are people that have never fought before, or a lot of them for the first time.
Yeah, most of them. Some of them have fought a few times, but yeah, no, it's all good fun. You get the rush of getting in there, but at the end of the day, you come away knowing that you've accomplished something, and that's raising awareness, raising some funds, and for a good cause. Get boki in the maka. So are we allowed to say that?
Yeah, man.
Okay.
It is tough, and you probably realize how tough it is, especially when you become a professional. Because the way I see it, like with boxing, to me, boxing is like one of the hardest sports out of every sport you can do.
Yeah.
Boxing is like the hardest because of the two extremes when you win or lose.
Yeah.
Because when you win, I think the feeling when you win is like more than anything winning Super Rugby or NRL Grand Final.
Because you're an individual and
But when you lose, it's even worse. It's the other side of the. Hey.
Well, sometimes it all depends on the person, really. On how well they carry themselves and how well they, compose. When I won my first fight, I thought I was going to go around prancing and showing off. I just wanted to go home, hug my wife, and go to sleep.
Yeah.
But when I lost my first fight, my first Winter Warrior fight, I thought it was something that I didn't accomplish. So there's an unfinished business there. But again, you got to weigh up the cost, whether your body can handle it, as well as your mental capacity. So yeah, the heart's there, but the body's just saying no. Yeah, there's a lot of young'uns coming up, and especially you know, city kickboxing. You know, they're breeding a lot of good fighters there, and so when you jump in there and try and jump into their sparring Mondays, you know, you just get in there and there's just like pit bulls are ready to take you out. And yeah, that's, to me, it's, you know, them trying to come up and, you know, prove themselves, what they're capable of. And again, I used to do that. You know, it's just trying to better yourself, I suppose.
You know, the journey through heavy hitters, like, how was that for you as a challenge? Like, when you first get in, I guess it's all about, you know, it's good for a good cause and good for you yourself too, for health and getting in shape and all that. But it must have been hard still to go through it.
It was. I mean, I put all the weight back on now, but you know, when I was focused and, you know, committed, you know, you just had this sort of euphoric feeling that, you know, you're working towards a goal and it becomes repetitive, and, you know, Eugene's behind you and all his team, and you try and focus and you look at the other good professionals that you fight against, that are fighting next to you in their own sort of world, and you're going, oh man, I wish I was like that. And so you turn around to the bang, you start hitting and starting adjusting your punchings and stuff. But I think it just comes down to the individual again, you know, how you take it. Again, there was a lot of funding in terms of, you know, the costs. So, you know, you really got to commit to it, and like, it's not cheap. But at the same time, you want to try and take away something, you know, from mentally and physically. So, yeah, I mean, it's not about winning or losing, really. It's about, you know, self-discipline. Yeah.
Because you know, when it came to watch your fight last year during lockdown, it was in between lockdowns, so
Yeah.
So it was kind of like level something, and people had to distance, but you're allowed to have those social events and stuff like that. So it's good that they still try to put it on because they were held off.
You know, it was pretty good. Again, it was, you know, just after lockdown came out, and it was all the spacing sort of thing, and then we called up, and then it was like, oh yeah, I'm doing this, and then, oh yeah, I want to do a piece, and I was like, oh yeah, come. So I don't know, it'd be interesting to see that.
I still got the footage too.
Oh, you said,
but it's in the computer, still in the computer. But I gotta do something about that. But yeah, man, are you gonna continue with the IT heavy hitters? Are they doing it again this year?
I haven't heard anything through the social media, but yeah, I might give it a go again. You know, I still got a bit of oomph for me, but yeah. Again, you know, just got to weigh up the costs, and, you know, it is a big commitment. Waking up at, you know, 5 a.m, spending an hour drilling, and then having to do your own training, and then go to do some extra classes to try and, you know, better yourself. I mean, again, it's all about discipline, really. You know, it doesn't matter what you do and how good you are, but if you're not focused, then, yeah, you can always fall off the bandwagon.
So what sort of training are you doing now? Are you at kickboxing doing?
I've just been doing my microgreens, so yeah, it's quite hard to focus on two things. You know, there's a lot of people that can do it, but for me, when I focus on something, I focus on one thing and try and achieve that objective before, you know, I move on. But microgreens have captured my focus for the last 18 months, and it wasn't until the beginning of the year I started to try and develop the business into something a little bit more lucrative. And we're starting to see some results, but, you know, still a long way away. But I think there's a unique niche market there for microgreens in New Zealand.
Because you've always been that type of guy to be focused on something and go 100 until it's probably hit the ceiling, and then you move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
So, but this microgreens thing is interesting because when I heard you were doing it, I didn't know what it was, but I recognized the products, and what it reminded me of is those fancy restaurants. That do those little those degustations and
condiments, they call it, or garnish.
Is it? Yeah.
I actually brought some in there. So I've got cilantro here.
Oh yeah.
These are a number of varieties that we grow in our grow room, and sunflower. mustard.
Oh, shucks.
Yeah. I forgot to grab the label for this one. This one's called Mizuno. And this is radish. So these are our popular brands that we sell at farmers market. So we're at Oratia every second week, just here at Collective Shed.
Yeah.
And we sell at Parnell Farmers Market. And we just started at Gastro Farmers Market out Parnell ways.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it'll be interesting to try and,
Those fancy chefs up there. Or...
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the whole target is just try and network through, where all the market is and try and make some connections.
So this one, mustard. Is that because when you eat it, it tastes like mustard? Or...
Yeah, it has a spice to it.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what mustard's made of.
Is it?
Yeah,
What's
so
the
it's a
actual
mustard,
sauce made of this?
Yeah, so the parent plant is a mustard, kind of like radish. It'll grow into a little root. That sunflower will grow into a sunflower.
Yeah.
And cilantro came from coriander.
Yeah.
Mizuno is a leafy, grassy sort of salad. So you can combine all that and you get a good mix sort of thing. So we also have a multi-mix, which a lot of the customers like to mix their microgreens because they just sprinkle it on everything, really.
Yeah. How'd you get into this? Or how did you even know about microgreens in the first place?
Well, drinking, making some ideas up, and I was just in the garage with some usos, just talking about trying to get into the cannabis scene. When it was a big topic. And
it was a big topic, because I remember before the referendum, I watched Country Calendar.
Oh yeah,
and there was a story about how these farms all over New Zealand were getting ready for the legalization, and they were getting their farms ready for hemp and all that, and cannabis too, like stuff like that for for whatever they're gonna do. And then it was a big thing around New Zealand. They're all getting ready, and of course the referendum happened, and
it didn't work.
Didn't happen. Yeah. So I was always wondering, man, it's people know what to make cannabis out of,
I mean, when that topic arose, it kind of put an emphasis that New Zealand does grow hemp as a productive sort of business, and from hemp, you've got cannabis, which is another sort of side of the business, but two different products. But when they started growing cannabis, we were in the garage going, oh man, this is going to be a good sort of lucrative business. How can we get into it, sort of thing? And so a friend of mine, brought a structure and started doodling on a piece of paper and who we needed to talk to, and we got the application and everything. And it was like, we tallied up all the kupe that we were going to spend on it, and it was like, oh, we need about 20,000 here, and as I started slowly building, I was like, so we're going to get our money from, so so that idea kind of came and went.
Did they go with the referendum, did it?
Yeah, kind of thing. We still had it at the back of our head, and we had the application, we were going to get vetted and everything. And I mean, the license to grow is just, I think it's $14,000 per annum, and that's just a license to grow. And I think that's just a certain sort of yield. So, so we kind of abandoned that. And along came one of my good mates that I've grown up with, and he's in the food business. So he distributes a lot of produce all across his business, and he came up to me and goes, "Sully, how good are you at growing stuff?" I was like, "Oh, I'm pretty good." And because I spent a lot of time in Waiuku, Tamiam Gardens out in Waiuku. My uncle owns that farm, and he's been growing for like 40 odd years. I used to visit, stay with him for a couple of weeks during holidays, so I kind of picked up a thing or two there. And so I said to him, I can give it a go. So, I want you to grow microgreens. Had these buckets of, about $200 worth of seeds. And he goes, I want you to research this and, go find out how to grow these. It doesn't take long. It takes about, 5 to 6 days. And I went, 5 to 6 days? Well, what do you do after that? He goes, oh, then you eat them. And I was like, what are they made of? He goes, they're just seeds. I was like, that's a broccoli. that's a sunflower, that's a radish, that's a mustard. And I was like, oh, okay. So these will actually grow into bigger,
Yeah, what we know, what we buy at the supermarket.
yeah. And then he said, oh, okay, grow these and see how you go. So I took them home and read the instructions, and I put them on the windowsill, and they started growing. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. So cut a bit off, and then you sprinkle it on your eggs in the morning, and then you sprinkle it on your salmon and on your steak. And then I was like, oh, and took pictures.
And what one was that? Was it one of these?
It was broccoli and sunflower. The sunflower, yeah.
But what makes it? How do you get it so small?
Oh, I mean, it's a process. So there's a cycle. So from seed to sprouts, and then to microgreens, and then baby shoots, and then parent leaves. So during that process, the two leaves, the cotyledons, they grow out and they start to draw the nutrients from the nucleus or the seed. And at that point in time, if you harvest them, all the nutrients are now available in the stem and the two cotyledon leaves. And once that starts to bloom, the second stage is the parent leaves. Once you get the parent leaves, it starts to get better because plants starting to photosynthesize, which, girls and boys, read that up, look it up in YouTube, photosynthesis. Anyway, so once it gets past that, it becomes bitter. So you want to try and cut it just before the two parent leaves bloom. And you find that the nutrients are really high in this period of the microgreen. And this is what a lot of people take advantage of. And nutrition value and vitamins are abundant. They say that I'm not a doctor, but I've read a lot of paperwork and online websites stating that microgreens have up to 40 times more nutrients than its parent plant. And I mean, a lot of doctors have confirmed that and stuff, but don't believe everything on microgreen on the internet. But my belief is that it is true. And I believe that, there's a lot of health benefits because a lot of study has gone into it. And the Americans and Canadians are now, starting to bring this out. They're about, 10 years ahead of us in technology and how they're cultivating it. Where this came to New Zealand around about, 2005, 2003, or probably even a little bit earlier. But it was always focused on garnishing, restaurant plates and condiments, but there wasn't any focus. For me, there wasn't any focus on the salad aspect and the nutrient value. So for me, that's part of how we've developed OFE microgreens, is to try and push the superfood aspect of microgreens in our product, to say, hey, look, this doesn't have to be something that makes your plate looks good. It
can be a side dish.
It can be a side dish. It can go into your salads. It can be the main course with a bit of sprinkled, dried meat. Flip the recipe around. Salad as the main, and your garnish would be the sprinkles of meat, sort of grated sort of thing. I mean, some mad ass ideas, and there's just a whole heap of ideas that you can, recipes that you can put this in. Like you can even put it in smoothies. Sandwiches, salads again, stir fry, soups. Although, they do say once you cook it, it starts to deteriorate the nutrient value. But again,
is it because they're small?
Yeah, because you're starting to, shrink and everything. But
because when you cook, it's like when you cook broccoli. You can't overcook it, otherwise all the nutrients will.
Yeah. So it's a similar thing. I mean,
but because they're smaller, it's easier to
break down and use that value.
But you could just eat it like this, mix it up and put oil on it.
Yeah, a lot of healthies always just eat it straight. I've seen a few people, walk around the markets just munching on the sunflowers as they walk along, as if it was like hot chips sort of thing. And that's quite, a new thing to see in New Zealand. And, it'd be nice to have everyone doing it, just taking a healthy sort of snack rather than the chips and stuff. I mean, it's all about being healthy, but trying to get it out to everyone, because not everyone knows about microgreens. So I mean, that's another aspect of our business, is to try and educate and let everyone know, especially our Pasifika and Tangata Whenua sort of thing. They don't know how much value you can get out of just a small handful of microgreens. You don't have to go overboard in eating so much, but just a handful can give you your daily requirements. And I think that's pretty good for a lot of people. I mean, if you're not into eating microgreens, it's just like cough medicine. Shove it down your throat with your nose blocked, and then you've got your nutrients. Have a beer or water after it.
That is cool. That's so cool. And it's so cool that you've gone into this market where it's brand, seems like it's brand new in New Zealand. It's just coming in.
Yeah,
it's just coming up.
Yeah,
and stuff.
there's a lot of groups on social media that I've joined. So it's been around for quite a while. But in terms of market wise, selling it out in the open, there's not a lot of businesses that are actually emphasizing on it. It is quite hard to grow it in some stages, because a lot of us, have a lot of dealings with mold. I mean, it's probably the greatest sort of issue that we deal with. In some cases, we could lose a whole line of production just because something went wrong. I mean, with OFE Microgreens, we go through a process with a company called New Zealand Gap, and they pretty much oversee our processes of how clean and how well we look after our facilities. And so we're one of the first that have got that qualification in an urban area sort of thing, because a lot of these are all horticulture farmways. So we've chosen and opted for New Zealand Gap, which is more recognised by the restaurants and a lot of the big supermarkets.
So do you pay to join that?
Yeah, so I mean, it's a couple of thousand actually.
Oh, gee.
Yeah, just to get them just to register ourselves, and then they come around and then they audit us.
All right.
It's just to
check your stock and all that, how you're growing.
Yeah, it's kind of like that A, B, C, D
that
you get in. That's from the council, but this is an independent company that does that for us, and it's quite reputable within agriculture and horticulture. And
you got that stamp, bro?
Yeah.
So that stamp.
It's at the back.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So it stands for good agricultural practice. So a lot of big food supermarkets recognize that certification. It's a little bit more better than NS1, the National Health Certificate, that a lot of restaurants apply for and get.
So since you got this GAP certification, so like, how do you get into the supermarkets? And or is that a market you don't want to get into?
Definitely want to get into, but we want to be careful and want to be slow, because there are a lot of big companies that want it, but the problem some of these smaller businesses face is the amount of product they want. I mean, like if I was to supply New World or Pack and Save or any of those big supermarkets,
because you need
you need a lot of land, and you can start off with one, shopping supermarket, but as it gradually grows, you want to be able to cater for the rest of them, and you want to try, and the whole idea for OFE is to try and set up shop as close as possible to all these vendors, because we want to try and get the microgreens from our operations straight into the markets without dwindling or putting it in the fridge, because I mean the shelf life of these things don't last very long.
All right.
So we want to maximize the freshness. So
how long would it last once you package one up fresh?
If you for us, we try and stay within the week, 1 week mark. I mean, if you're not eating microgreens within that week, within the certain grammage that we've calculated it to, you're not eating enough, kind of thing. So we've portioned it out just enough for like 2 or 3 people to eat from 2 to 3 days, or a family having dinner. So one punnet can supply everyone nutrients, or one person can have a sprinkle of microgreens for lunch. Like, so another example, I've got a membership at work. So I've, told everyone at work, I say, look, you want some microgreens for lunch? A couple of bucks, and I'll deliver them on a Monday or Tuesday, and I'll put them in the fridge with your name on it, and you just grab it and then add it to your lunch sandwiches. 9 times out of 10, all these people bring over leftovers from home dinner, and so it's ideal to be thrown onto their lunch so they know that they're getting their daily requirements again, So that's another good health benefit that, taking microgreens and putting it into a workplace where a lot of health benefits are achieved through my membership with work. So,
yeah, that's a good niche because I think exactly what you described was like if you have a meal and you got this handy, just sprinkle some of that on because it isn't a big deal, you know. Eh?
I mean,
and you'll get some of those nutrients in you.
There'll be some packages that are good for big commercial restaurants and etc. So we haven't started catering for that side of thing, but we definitely want to try and focus on our motto, which is better eating, better living, sort of thing. So if you're eating well, then you're of course going to get good health. I mean, it's almost become a sort of a testimony in my life, Just recently, Dad passed away, doesn't smoke, doesn't drink, but, his diet wasn't so great, it's all our Pacific Island food, just probably took a toll. And, again, we have to try and focus on our intake, where we're all eating what we love to eat instead of eating healthy and looking after our bodies. I mean, me, for instance, I was right up at 130 kgs, but refocusing my, diet, I've now, slowly come down just to 123. So, I mean, that there is a testament, and that's me not training, I mean, you can put a lot more training in and you probably can lose a little bit more, a lot faster, but that's just me saying, okay, I'm not so active, but eating and portionalizing your food and watching your calories again is something that everyone probably needs to focus on, and we don't put enough emphasis on that, unfortunately. And it's sad to see, like, everybody is going because of their heart. I mean, it's just really sad, sort of thing, and you just want to try and help everybody, but you can't. So you just try and try and focus on something that that can try and make a little bit of a difference. And again, this is where we are at, and trying to mold this into everyone, and especially the Pacific Island families. They don't know anything about microgreens. Even my mom and dad, when Dad was around, he didn't even know what microgreens was. But when I gave it to him, it was something interesting that he could eat. Like, it wasn't overpowering his pisupu or anything, but it was something that was contributing towards a good health, sort of thing, But yeah, so we just want to try and get that brand name out and make it become a stable food, an everyday name, and try and emphasize on using microgreens as a superfood as for everyone's side dishes.
Yeah, it's something that's really needed. And like you said, our Pacific Island community is always known for eating. We eat big, eh?
Yeah.
And we fill up our plates. We fill up our plates like a mountain.
Yeah.
And you're right, man, because it's a problem with obesity, and heart attacks and diabetes and that, even especially with our people. Well.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of factors that go into that, like education. Even how cheap the junk food is.
Yeah.
If you can't afford, because eating healthy food is expensive.
Yeah.
It's so expensive, and
but I mean, it comes down to how much do you put your value, or how much do you value your life, sort of thing. That's a question that sometimes that we kind of neglect. But at the end of the day, we're all here to try and better ourselves, sort of thing. And it all starts with like Michael Jackson said, looking in the mirror, sort of thing.
No, that's cool, man, and it's cool that you are a Pacific Islander guy. You Samoan.
Yeah.
You don't look like the type to. Yeah, I'm looking at you now. You don't look like the type to come in here and say, "Oh, I've got this cilantro mustard and microgreens business, you know. But you know, you're the face that you know we all can relate to. And if this is what you're bringing, something positive to a healthy lifestyle, eating healthy with your product, you know, it's and your packaging too, your logo, and what you're presenting with with your
the logo has a lot of Pacific essence in it. How I feel that was designed by a Whakasi Samoan, one of my work colleagues, who spent a couple of weeks, you know, drafting and getting ideas, and he drew ideas when we were having a conversation, and he kind of thought, okay, so he wants to emphasize on Pacifica and how you can relate the plant to, because I mean, to this day, I still don't know what we can call it in the Samoan language, you know. You know, la awititi just doesn't sound right. You know, what's the Samoan word for micro? And, you know, green, mea maka, sort of thing. So, I mean, you know, I've got my uncles, you know, still trying to figure it out. But we'll find a word for it. Something that rolls off the tongue, sort of thing.
So would there be a slogan, or are you talking about like a full rebranding of the...
What do you mean?
Like, are you talking about a slogan to put
No, I'm just talking about the word microgreens. There's no Samoan word for microgreen.
And would you rebrand it into that Samoan word?
Probably not. That brand in itself has a sentimental value. You know, Ofe is my last name, and it's my dad's name, is my grandpa's name. But I've found a way to emphasize it within, you know, the business of and commercializing it by making it an acronym. So it stands for my last name, but of course it also stands for Optimal Fresh Edibles.
Hey.
I mean,
Sounds good.
Yeah, so I mean, we're actually working on another product, you know, an innovative idea that we use all our byproduct from microgreens. So I mean, I don't want to talk too much about it, but you know, watch the space. We'll get it out there, and it'll be something different that, you know, a lot of people will get to experience, and hopefully it takes off. But yeah.
How long have you been doing this now?
Well, I've been researching for the last 3 years.
Wow.
And we registered the business last year. And so we're coming up to our second year. We registered in February last year.
So during that 3 years researching, was it a progression how in the first year, every time you learned something new about it, it just gave you more energy to say, it's gonna happen there?
Yeah. I mean, at first, I mean, like, if I you know, tested myself and thought, you know, sat there with the Hennessy in my hand and go, do I really want to be serious about this? Or am I just going to be, you know, one of those guys that muck around, get it done, and then just, you know, half-ass it? So I said to myself, I wanted to do it properly. So, you know, there was a time where I had a boat, and, you know, I gave the boat up, you know, and all my toys, just sold them all and just used the funds to start the business up. And then they also went in with me halfway, and then we started putting our assets together to develop this business. So we sat down, I did all the research, he did all the marketing, you know, research aspects of it, and what I needed, where I need to be, how long we were going to take to do this, you know, just focus on these onwards and upward goals. And so, you know, inch by inch, we made it forward. You know, we were getting all these qualifications. So for me, it took me to go back to school, but I didn't want to go back to a classroom sort of thing. So I tried to look for some sort of part-time educational sort of thing, just to get myself around, you know, the fundamentals of growing, because I knew that, you know, just put a seed in the ground and then it grows. You know, just give it some water, nutrients, blah, 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 NPK.
So that would, you know, that would have been a horticulture course kind of thing?
So, I mean, I found a level 3 botanical nursery certificate on Open Polytech. So it was a 3-month course for a level 3, and then another 3 months for a level 4. So I did those courses and achieved those, and I felt that I was able to, you know, carry what I need to know to start the business off, because I mean you only need the fundamentals of potting and nutrient values that you need to put into the soil, and how you want to lay the soil, and the pH levels of your water, and away you go. So I mean that was that first part, and then we tried it again. So we bought all the trays from China and all the lights, and then we set up our operation from a portacom. So we had to insulate it, divide it up into a grow room and a process room. And then the old man, God bless his soul, came up with the idea. He wanted he could help me build a washroom, because he made that. Where are you going to wash your trays? And I went, oh, true. Full paper lea. And so he started his engineering and put his engineering skills to work, and made a frame for the front of the business. And before you knew it, we had a grow room, a process room, and a washroom that was really helpful, because when the trays come out, you need to sanitize the things before they go back into the grow room. So sanitary is a primary thing. We try and minimize people going into the operation, so it doesn't catch anymore, because mold's everywhere. Mold spores, you're breathing it, sort of thing. And so once that thing settles, it just explodes and it starts to multiply. So you don't want to do it. You don't want to catch it sitting in your grow room. So in the grow room, there's a lot of fans just rotating the air, just blowing in all directions. So it's just mixing, the air waves, just to keep the airways moving inside the grow room. And then you got an air inlet and an outlet, so it sucks out all the bad air, all the used up warm air, and it blows in a few, some good, clean air, filtered air with our filtering system. We've got a air conditioner that regulates, and it's monitored, so we can monitor the temperatures. And then we added a humidity gauge, which senses how much water and moisture is in the air, which is a real vital component, because if there's too much water, then spores can explode a lot quicker. And if there's not enough water, then it becomes too dry for the microgreens. So we got a sweet spot of 65, which is a good level that we've it just took a lot of tweaking. And so we found that around that area, 65% was where we want to be, to try and keep the water levels for our microgreens. It varies with a lot of the growers out there.
With all the different variables, like, because you have the portacom, obviously you got the dimensions to it.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of testing at the beginning to make sure the environment's right.
Yeah.
And the volume of the area inside the portacom.
Yeah, a lot of wastage.
Yeah, so, I can imagine. And man,
it took a while to get it right, but you just do a lot of reading and sharing online. Social media was a good component that gave us a lot of information. We could dig through a lot of the groups that were finding it really hard for themselves. Most of it was American and Canadian guys, and then up popped this new New Zealand group, New Zealand Microgreens. So that's run by another good friend, Tony and Sho. So they're another microgreen grower that we've teamed up with.
Right.
And
how many out there in New Zealand?
There's quite a few of them. I'd say there's probably about, a good 30 that are serious about it, and then the rest are just hobbyists. That's just me throwing a number out there, but it is starting to grow. That's just Auckland.
All right.
There's a lot of across New Zealand. There's heaps of us. Just trying to emphasize. There's 23 Seasons, which is a big commercial company. Grow My Microgreens, which is out North Shore. There's another reputable company there that runs a lot of microgreens that caters for Farmer Joe, I think, and a few other restaurants out there. So yeah, and we try and collaborate with each other, but in the back of our heads, I'm just going to come out and say, everybody wants to be the top dog in microgreens, and I think that's, everyone just strives to be, better than the other, but the end of the day, for me personally, it's an emphasis of getting Dad's name on the shelf of a supermarket, and just trying to be aware, making a health conscious decision with microgreens, and just introducing it to a lot of our Pacific. I mean, for me, it might sound that I'm contradicting this, but when I started off at Avondale Markets, nobody wanted to grow the thing, or it was just a lot of questions. But so I stopped the Avondale Markets, and I think maybe it's not ready for this side of Auckland. So that's why I'm in. But now it gives a lot of options. I mean, I'm not trying to be but there's a lot of businesses around there that and a lot of people that know about microgreens. So it just makes more sense for me to start off the business in an area where I can grow comfortably, and then definitely come back to the hood and start pushing it out a little bit more when I'm a little bit more confident. I mean, again, we're still a young business. We've made mistakes like everyone else, but we learn from it, and and just try and push forward.
No, I mean, it totally makes sense. You got to go with the market is as well. And, like we said, for our people, like, we don't want to hear microgreens. We want to hear big greens.
Yeah.
But
I mean, for me, when you compare it to like luau, or just put coconut cream in your sunflowers and balu, it just tastes like.
Have you tried it? Have you tried it? Yeah. So you can come up with a new thing.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of ideas and innovative ideas that haven't been spawned yet on a lot of social media networks. I mean, a lot of people make all these nice fancy dinner plates and stuff, and you get the garnish on top. But like, for me, like, looking at microgreens, there's a whole heap of new ideas just sitting there waiting to be unearthed, and within the product itself, you got heaps of colors, heaps of different flavors that you can experiment with, and just a lot of different products that are waiting to come out of this, and a lot of them are going to be health beneficial, and and I think that's where a lot of our focus should be going towards, is eating a lot more healthier rather than aia pa.
No, that's I think you got to go where the customers are, and like I said before, like with the fancy restaurant, this is exactly what they do. I remember because my daughter-in-law, she just graduated. She graduated university, and we had a lunch for her, and we had this restaurant, and I think it was Mekong Baby in Ponsonby. But we had this dish where the garnish was, I think it was ginger. It tasted like ginger, but it was a different color. But it was a hairline. It was like that's how thin it was. It was just like a hair over the thing.
Be sure it wasn't the chef's hair.
No, but that kind of presentation, like those chefs, man, they love this sort of thing.
I mean, there's over 15 different types of microgreens available in New Zealand. In America and Canada, they've got over 30. They've got different varieties, different specimens of types of broccoli.
How many here did you say?
About 15, 20, give or take.
But over there is like double.
There's heaps, like people are experimenting all over the place with, wild berries sort of thing, wild shrubs and stuff like that, And they're coming up with these ideas, but like, it's like every mushroom is edible and every weed is edible until, something happens. But this is just, herbal sort of.
How would you get into the restaurant market? Because like, we were talking about how these chefs, they like these kind of stuff. It gives them more flexibility with their presentation, their styles. Like we talk about like when I think of a Samoan chef, top chef in New Zealand, Michael Meredith. Have they know him?
I have heard of him.
Yeah, he's like one of the top chefs.
Yeah.
So he's got a restaurant down in Britomart.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Might have to go for a visit.
Might have to, if you're listening, Michael, just come and get some microgreens. John over here, but like I don't know if it's a thing where you can ask the chef about 4 ideas of how he wants the product to grow and how he wants it to look. that could be? Is that a thing?
Well, again, it's us growing our net, for us, getting our name out there and making ourselves known. The other aspect is it's not what you know, it's who you know, within that industry. Like a lot of your friends would know a reputable chef, and he's like, hey, can you take my goods to him and, hook it up and see what he thinks? 9 times out of 10, they might come back and say, hey, you start off a chat and say, oh, you're looking for microgreens, I can grow for you, reputable, and then you hand them your certificates and everything. So, oh, yeah, I'll come and check it out. So you just give them, heaps of freebies. And then eventually, they either take it or they, make it a full stop and say, oh, I've already got someone else sort of thing. It's just trying to get in there. A lot of those chefs were approached by someone that was a grower at one shape or form, or they met them at a farmer's market, or they're already on the shelves sort of thing. But in saying that, again, not a lot of microgreens are coming through the commercial side, the supermarkets. Like for me personally, it starts off and takes off for a little bit and then it stops. There's a lot of companies out there that I've seen, come out, make it big, emphasize on marketing, and then disappear. So again, I don't know why, but we're going to find out.
Yeah.
Just trying to go through all those problems and try and weed them out.
I think, you going to Parnell is a good start, especially when you talk about farmers market. You see all those chef stuff on Netflix, how they go, those cooking shows when they go in any farmers market where they are,
and
and they
grab all their
grab
goods
the
and stuff.
they grab all their shopping and stuff. So you might be that guy that's in those markets and all the chefs are looking for their stuff.
I mean, a lot of networking happens in that in the markets. I mean, you're getting a lot of fresh produce. You're collaborating with other businesses that might need your goods. I mean, there's a pizza company that's at Parnell as well that we've been talking, and he wants me to grow basil, and I was
Oh yeah.
If
So you
you
can pretty much
grow
grow any herb.
Yeah, pretty much anything.
But what would a microgreen basil look like? Just a smaller version.
Just a smaller version of a basil. As long as it has the 2 leaves and it has the smell and aroma, it's pretty much the nutrient value of it. I mean, they'll use it for sprinkling it on pizzas. Like when they come out of the oven, you just throw it on, and that aroma starts to build up when it starts to heat the microgreen. And I have seen it. It's like you just throw microgreens or coriander on, and it's like, it smells good, eh? Like how herbs are actually, reacting, and it gives it a different, sort of taste. So I think that's what a lot of chefs try and look for, is just new innovative ideas on how to make their product a little bit more better. I mean, I've always gone on the joke that you can sell an $18 steak at a restaurant. You throw microgreens on it, it'll become like $40 or $60 because you just made that effort to make it look more, presentable. And so I think the focus at the moment is garnishing and the condiment aspect of it, and it really benefits, a lot of chefs and restaurants, because I mean, everyone out there is just trying to make their dish look better than the other, I suppose.
Before you started this, did you have a bit of a palate on you? Did you have a bit of a palate on you? Were you into cooking?
I cooked a little bit. I mean, I started off a little YouTube page, but I kind of stopped.
Oh yeah, because the reason why I say it, because when you love cooking, you get to use all the different herbs and spices, and get to know what the taste is and what goes with what. It might be something that helped you with the taste for these. Because when you started growing these, what was the process with knowing your product or tasting your product to get it right? Or
I mean, it's just trial and error.
Yeah.
I mean, like when I started cooking, I was cooking for my family, and the first thing that I learned how to cook was supu. And for me, it was like mimicking my mom's soup, and I was like, what goes into a soup? And you remember carrots, celery, so you cut them all up, throw them in, and then on the odd occasion, you might throw something else in, and then your mom would turn around and goes, what's this doing in here? I was like, thought I should. I was actually trying, it tastes good, because you put a cinnamon stick in there or something and gave it a different taste. You just picked it up and threw it in there. Oh, yeah, cool, it's a cinnamon stick le supu. But, you get different tastes. But, that's how I kind of grew up learning how to cook. So it became a little bit of a hobby. But you learn on how to, mix spices and stuff. And again, internet's full of, information, and that helps you. And so I do a little bit of, I do a lot of watching YouTube, really. I don't do a lot of reading. But, yeah, I'm one of those guys. You jump into YouTube, you end up somewhere you shouldn't be, and it's like, how did I get here?
So with the tasting of your products,
Yeah.
what was that process? I mean, what was this one?
Oh, that's my Zuna.
Zuna, yeah.
Yeah,
So what does this taste like?
So that's a bit of a spicy, sort of have you tasted mescaline leaves in a salad?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that sort of taste. It has a bitter, sweet sort of aroma taste to it. Again, when you mix your microgreens, you're actually just going for the nutrients. But if you want to try and give it a nice taste, then you'll start experimenting with the nutty flavors, the earthy flavors, the spicy flavors, and the hot flavors. We don't grow any hot, but we grow mustard and radish, which is a bit of a spicy aroma, and maizuna. Cilantro has a sort of coriander effect. So if you've tasted France, has that taste. Sunflower is
it the nutty one?
Yeah, nutty flavor.
So it'd be good for like satay or something like that. Eh?
Yeah, like I said, you can put it in anything. I mean, and it just gives that decorative sort of aspect, and as well as the nutrients.
Shucks. And how much? And how'd you design? Did you design your packaging, or was it just
Well, one of the Usos, which is a close cousin of mine, I approached him, and he does a lot of artwork, and he's in that labeling sort of business. So he kind of developed the labels, and I said, also, just threw it at him and just said, make it look like it was one of those ones. So he did a bit of homework and, looked at all the packaging systems that were in place, and kind of put everything together and said, oh, I've got this. Do you want it colorized? Or you want to put a color in there? So okay, well, we can put color in there because we want to differentiate, our products and make them stand out when we're presenting them. That it's not just microgreens. It's a microgreens. Oh, mustard flavor. Microgreens. Oh, sunflower flavor. And then so on. And so we want to try and put that emphasis on. There's not 1, 2, or 3 microgreens out. There's a whole variety of them.
Have you looked into talking to caterers as well? Like people that do catering?
Well, again, I'm not actively going out there looking for, single companies and single. We want to try and get to where we're able to network our product rather than supply. So when I say network our product, we want to try and get into the big guys, food stuff, progressive. And at the same time, we want to be able to meet the levels that they're looking for. So at the moment, we're trying to find ways of trying to optimize our side by providing a business kit. I mean, so where we're at, we've developed the grow room, and we want to make it into a franchise. And so we want to try and put this, shipping container or portacom as close as possible to where we want to supply, like, Pamua or east side or west side, even North Shore, and try and get our microgreens as close as possible. So, I mean, that's another aspect of the business and a bigger picture of OFE Microgreens, trying to make a business niche sort of thing, just a business that can cater for it. And it, with us starting it off, we can take the data and we can prove, to the banks, we can prove to the, the buyers or the franchise that we can supply and we can give contracts and we can get people to buy your microgreens. All you have to do is just grow it, watch it, pack it, and then send it, sort of thing. It's just kind of like a production line, automating it is where we're at. We're trying to get into the hydroponicsing, automate the water. So all you have to do is sprinkle the seeds on the trays, and we're looking at different types of medium. We want to try and move away from soil because soil is, the biggest cost for our operation. It's just non-stop. We're buying sacks and sacks of potting mix. And the sad thing is that we only use it once and it's no good. And then we have to wait 6 months to either compost it and then try and reuse it. 9 times out of 10, it doesn't. You end up with a different, with the same sort of seeds growing from the last batch in your sunflowers sort of thing. So you get a pea growing up. So you don't want that.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you were doing selling. So what we try and do is instead of recycling, we sell it on to the next, person that would want it for their gardens and stuff, because it'll be much better to have, radishes growing than weed, natural weed. So instead of them picking out, weed, you're picking out edibles because it's quite clean. Because what we do is we clean the soil before we start using. So we just give it a bit of a pH watering, and then we just let it soak and sit. And because if anything, we're trying to make it as clean as possible, but it's dirt sort of thing.
Yeah. So that just to sell it on, because obviously you can't use it. That's interesting, man.
Yeah.
So what's the alternative to soil then? If you don't,
there's a number of different alternatives. At the moment, there's cocoa fibers. There's cocoa soil. There's mesh.
these cheaper alternatives?
Well, no, I wouldn't say cheaper, just different types. But again, those come with its own sort of challenges.
But you can reuse them again and again.
Yeah. So there's some mats that are kind of like the fly. What do you call it? It's probably a bad example, but the netting on a fly stopper. Those doors. I'm not sure what the name is, but you can grow on those mesh, sprinkling your seeds on, as long as it doesn't fall through the holes. You've got the right dimensions and you just missed it. They can grow. It just needs something to latch on and a good, spritz of water. And you can have them grow on a normal mesh without soil.
So that seems like the best way then.
It is, but it dries out a lot quicker. So if you're going to do that, what you want to do is make sure that when you start the process off, you want to make sure that your seeds are, nice and moist, because it won't, it needs water to germinate. Right. But if you spritz it and then it dries up too fast, it's never going to grow properly.
Right.
And you'll always have this data sheet that just goes up and down, and the seed's never going to grow properly to its full potential. Whereas if you have that data, you can actually, automate a spray system that just automatically sprays it.
That's the cost. That'll be the cost.
Yeah, so you just have all these little eyelets just on top of your trays, pss, 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 kind of thing, every 5-10 minutes sort of thing. But that's, again, costs money, but the idea is there. It's been proven over the States. It does work. There's heaps of different technologies. We've got hemp fiber is another one. Bamboo fiber is used in there. Recycled paper.
Paper?
Paper.
Wow.
People use a lot of recyclable, material to try and grow their microgreens on. We haven't done it, but, a lot of the hobbyists tend to find innovative ideas to try and, recycle things, especially the organic lovers. They're really into their reproducing and recycling and, just being really health conscious about what they put in their bodies. But there's different ways. There's different types of ways of growing. You got hydroponic, aeroponics, where you use air droplets. So it's just a spray around the roots. You've got I can't think of them all, but you're using NFT drain lines where you can just put your trays on and the water just gushes through. And it just keeps flowing, and you've got microgreens that grow in soilless sort of channels.
So with the soil option, that's the easiest one to do?
It's what everyone does. And
just like accessible.
Yeah, and it's a lot easier at the moment. But once you start getting into the hydroponics, Even the kit's a lot more expensive, but it does save money in the long run. So we want to try and get up to that stage and, just pop the trays in, let them sit, let them grow, and then pull them out, cut them, and then repeat sort of thing. Whereas our process with soil is fill the tray up, stamp it down, sprinkle the seeds, water it, then cover it, and then wait kind of thing. And then we get the process of getting the microgreens starting to germinate.
So how long does it take for you sprinkle the seed until it to grow into a size where you can now package it?
It
How long does
depends
that-
on the variety. So for us,
So these are different times. All these.
no.
different-
So for us, we've chosen the variety that meets our turnaround time. So we've gone and chosen microgreens that take 8 days, 6 to 8 days to grow. So anywhere between 6 to 8 days, we're ready to harvest. Just because we run on a weekly sort of turnaround. So markets happen every week, so we want to try and have a product ready. So we just try and calculate per tray what we need, and we can usually go with anywhere between 6 to 12 kgs of goods, and then process that. There are microgreens that can take up to 2 weeks to grow, and that's cilantro takes about 2 weeks, which is the coriander version.
I guess this will be the most popular one.
It is the popular one, but it takes the longest to grow. And it's because of the popularity, we've put it on our variety range. But again, that's when you're thinking about real estate, because we use vertical farming. So we're using shelves to stage our trays of seeds, and we're working on an 8-day process. Whereas if we're occupying the top shelf with cilantro, they're not going to move for another 14 days, and so you potentially lose out on a product that could be going twice, whereas cilantro is basically highly required sort of variety. You have to grow it kind of thing, because you want to add it to your mixes, you want to cater for the demand that's actually out there.
So how many trays would you do for cilantro, like on a weekly basis? So you have to put one. You can start growing 1 week, and then the next week and start growing the next one. So
Yeah,
at
so
the
you
end of
have
the
that.
you get it gets.
So you have
it
that
comes,
cycle
yeah,
going,
cycle
yeah.
every weekend.
So when on in my process area, we've got one germination side, and then we have the light photosynthesis side, so where the lights and where the magic happens, sort of thing. Because microgreens only take 2 or 3 days in the sunlight before they're ready to harvest. So they don't spend a lot of time under the sun. It's mostly during the period when they're trying to stretch in what we call dark mode. So where there's a phase where we put them out blackout, and then we put them in a weighted state. So we put a tray on top of another tray with the soil in between after we've sowed the seeds, and then we put a bit of weight on top of it to what's the word that I'm looking for? To make it feel like it's soil on top, but you don't want to put soil on top. What's the word? Emulate, I
Oh
suppose.
yeah,
Because
because it's a living thing, eh? So
Yeah.
it feels like.
And you
Oh.
don't want to you don't want it to dry out too much, so you want to keep it covered, sort of thing. So it just emulates the fact that it's soil, but it's not. So once the seed starts to germinate, it starts to look for a place to look for light. So after 3 to 4 days, you open it up, and it's in its sprout version. So this is where another sort of product comes out, and that's where you get your sprouts, like your alfalfa and your mung beans. But they grow those in a jar, by the way. So at that process, it becomes a sprout, and then you wait another 3-4 days after that, and then it becomes a microgreen. But in between that, you want to try and monitor how long you want to put it in the soil sort of state, and then once it starts to grow, and you flip the tray over, put it in a process called dark mode, where it's just trying to emulate it, the feeling of it in a dark place, and then it starts to stretch and starts to grow towards, using gravity more or less.
Right.
And then you remove the tray after 1 or 2 days. You find them that they're stretching like at least an inch or two, and then you put them under the sun, and then under the grow lights, and then they start the photosynthesis process to start greening them up.
Oh yeah.
And then
wow. Shucks.
starts to, that's when you start harvesting them. But again, if you leave them out too long, then the parent leaves start to develop, and it just starts to become really bitter kind of thing. But so it's an art form of trying to, harvest at the right time, but you don't want to harvest too early because you don't want to have your product deteriorate fast on you kind of thing, because you've got a 2-week window. Because for microgreens, it can sit nicely and comfortably in the fridge for up to 2 weeks, but for us, we want to keep our safe levels within a week, and we aim to think that using the right amount, the right packaging size or weight will give the consumer just enough for that week without the product sitting around in the fridge.
So that's your attention to detail, huh?
Kind of.
Of everything, like the amount. The week will last a week for them.
Oh,
That's
when
cool.
you watch all these big commercial companies, there's always some sort of study that they use, and kind of like real estate on the shopping shelves. It's good to try and take that on board and kind of learn from those. Coca-Cola only want their Cokes on a certain height, sort of thing. Not saying that I want to be like Coke, but maybe one day.
All these lessons to be learned.
Yeah,
for
definitely.
These kind of things. So the marketing side of your microgreens, do you just come up with how you think it should be marketed, or do you get influences from what's out there, YouTube and?
We haven't done a lot of marketing campaigns as such, but we use social media, Instagram. We take a lot of pictures of our own foods as well as families, photos of their dishes, and of course our customers love to send their end results of their dishes, and my soup looks really nice with radish on top, here's my dish, and so how much would you pay for that, sort of thing. So we collect all these pictures through our process, and would you like us to feature this particular dish? And it's just to get it out there and say, look, there's a lot of things you can do with microgreens in terms of being a chef at home. If you just want to impress your date, throw some microgreens on it, and your date will go from nice steak to wow, that's interesting kind of thing. Microgreens makes a lot of difference. But we haven't really touched base in marketing in terms of trying to get out there further than social media. I mean, social media, a lot of people are out there, and it's just, again, getting ourselves known, putting our brand name out there, and just trying to, engage with the community, or with clients, customers. But I think, the more we just, share, foods and promote our brand, I think it'll slowly become, where we want to be in the future. And that's trying to be part of a healthy sort of diet and a healthy sort of lifestyle.
Before we jumped on the mics, you're talking about there's people in Samoa doing this too, eh?
Yeah, I don't know who they are, but it's quite interesting. The suppliers of the microgreen trays that I work with, her name's Catherine. She runs microgreens in the North Shore side. She was telling me that she had a visit from these microgreen growers in Samoa. So I thought I was the first Samoan. Apparently not. There's another Samoan out there growing it, and this is what I really enjoy, is that it's interesting that our culture is embracing new things rather than the same old thing. Being a banker, being a lawyer. There's heaps of us out there, now gunning for to become a doctor or a physiotherapist or a pathologist. Just these interesting sort of aspects. And again, for me to engage microgreens, so I was quite interested in it, and I thought be something great to get into, and let everyone know that from a Hamo's perspective, you can do it too, sort of thing. So again, taking what I strived in with my own career in IT, and taking that sort of same sort of feeling and trying to strive forward and go do something different, like out of the ordinary. Because growing up, I was always the odd one out of the boys. Yeah.
So your daytime job is IT. That's what you've trained for.
Yeah. So
All these years?
So I've spent 15 years for the company I currently work with, and it's been interesting, but I'm starting to lose sort of the interest in that sort of area of expertise. I'm starting to move towards more the horticulture side, and I think it just comes down to getting old, and you just want to really do something that you're really fond of rather than what you originally tried to chase, and that was try and chase the money.
Yeah, that's typical for, especially if you work the job for more than 10 years, 15 years, especially.
You're not moving anywhere.
But I'm kind of in that same predicament as well. Like I've been in my job for like the past 20 years, and it's kind of same old shit. You want to try new things, and but then you think about the thing that puts you off really is go back to school.
Yeah.
And then doing that struggle again for another whatever
3-4 years, and then you just end up quitting, and it's like, why did I even start?
Yeah, but then that's the challenge, right? But in the back of your mind, we only get one life,
Exactly.
and there's no use waking up in the morning to go somewhere and you're unhappy, and then you come home and do your side hustle because that's what you're really into. Problem is, the side hustle is not going to put the food on your table and roof over your head at the moment, so that's
it keeps you busy as well, it keeps me out of trouble, sort of thing, and keeps me focused on my children as well, and gives me something to focus on in terms of engaging with them, despite the fact they don't like it. Sometimes they have a part-time responsibility within the business where we get to engage. They don't know it, but we're actually working as a family, trying to emphasize and bring this company up. And just being teenagers, your typical teenager doesn't want to do it, but in the long run, later on in life, they'll be more thankful that they were doing it, because it's the same feelings I went through, on the car, and you didn't want to do this, you didn't want to do that, but then when you think back, I was like, oh man, should have put more emphasis on it. Life could have been a lot easier today, sort of thing. But yeah, and a bit of bribing helps. So I'll give you this, I'll give you that. Okay, and then they start washing the trays out really clean. But yeah, for me, it's just a family orientation and something that I like doing, and my family loves it as well. We're all together, and we're all trying to strive for the same sort of objective, and that's just to try and motivate others. We're not health experts or anything, but we definitely want to try and contribute towards it with our knowledge of what we know about microgreens, and with the health scenario, we can probably put something together and help out those that do know what nutritional values are. I mean, for us, the product is a product that we need to learn about, and we need to focus on what the product wants to do. What we want to do for the clients that are out there, or the customers that want to know or want to grab this, so we cater that demand, sort of thing.
And it's good that you're getting the family involved too, because it's good for the family and stuff. But I was gonna say about the side hustle stuff. Like, it comes a time where the time is important.
Yeah.
The time you put into the side hustle.
Yeah.
And then there will come a time that you need more time.
Yeah.
And then it's trying to find that time.
Well, we're all living on borrowed time, they say.
But when for you is that point where it's time to get some more time to do this, and then that means eating up in your daytime job?
It's
See,
at the
that's a hard part.
Yeah,
Eh?
it's the hard part. It's just juggling the two sort of, I don't know, streams of income, I suppose.
But you have in your head your goal, your number that will make you time.
Yeah, I mean,
Time to do this full time.
for me, it's just the word residual. You know, I mean, I want to do this business. You know, hopefully start it up and then hand it over to someone that I can train and carry on the business, and then turn this whole business into a project where again we can develop it into a franchise and then move it on, sell it as a whole kit. I mean, there's heaps of ideas that we want to try and do, but again, you're right, time is the main thing, and we don't have a lot of it, but you just got to keep going, sort of thing.
Have you come to that point where you need time yet, or not yet?
For me, I try not to focus on time. I just try and prep and then just inch forward. It might take me 2 weeks to do something. It might take me a day to do something. But for me, if I'm moving forward, then I know I've accomplished something. If I'm just sitting there, reading, I'm accomplishing something, something towards the business. But for me, it's, there was a time it was all about money, but again, we don't control time. And I think it's just it's hard for me to say really, but for me, I'm just going forward. You just got to do what you got to do, sort of thing, without trying to be, too overpowering, sort of thing. There's a deep thought right there.
Now because that's why I love your social media. When every time you post something, there's always something deep thoughts. I think there's one that you posted about. Like, I think you were like following a group of ants. Was it? They were like this line of ants or something, or line of insects walking, and you were following them or something.
Yeah, probably not me.
Was it you? No, there was something you had a video of. That was a while ago.
Yeah.
But then it's funny, you post some out of it stuff like different things that makes me think, and some
just
like
those deep thought.
Yeah, those deep thoughts ones. Yeah,
Yeah.
those deep thought ones.
Yeah, I get a lot of those.
It must have not be ants, it must be something else. But I remember I was like, what the hell was that? But I think the latest one I saw was when you commented on someone else about Scooby Doo. There was a Scooby Doo. I think the article was like Scooby Doo, and they were like, it was a hidden message there. It was like, it was like a lesbian cartoon.
Yeah. I mean, it was a retake on a message that a guy was talking about. Why, back in the days, us as kids, we were oblivious to, these hidden messages of,
It's like subliminal messages.
Yeah, well, I'm going to say subliminal because it was right out there. And then his comment hit me, and I remember this cartoon that I came across. I used to love the cartoon when I was young.
It was Rainbow.
Rainbow. You watched it?
Yeah.
Bungle and Zippy or whatever his name
yeah.
is. So I came across this episode where it was just, as an adult, you just knew what they were talking about, but, and then I actually put my one of my cousins in front of it, and she didn't even know what they were talking about, and you could just tell, they were engaged, and she was watching the cartoon for what it was, twangers and bangers and stuff.
Yeah.
So in their mind, they're oblivious to the hidden messages, but you're sitting there going, man.
Because what was behind that episode? Because was that intentional?
I think it was a take on the directors or the makers of Scooby Doo now coming out.
No, the rainbow episode when
What
talking
about
about twangers and bangers, when she was saying my bangers are big or something like that. The rainbow one, that episode. Because was that actual episode that went out?
Well, I mean, it's a YouTube video.
Yeah, because I watched it,
It looks real, Lee.
and I was thinking,
Yeah.
man, did that actually come out when we were kids?
Oh, I don't recall watching that episode, but I definitely remember watching the Rainbow. But yeah, nah, I wouldn't be surprised if it did. I mean, there are other cartoons out with hidden messages and hidden pictures.
Just like Family Guy. Do you watch Family Guy? That's funny,
I
man.
watched a few times.
That Family Guy is like adults only, but
Yeah.
so the messages are there, but a kid won't understand.
Okay.
It's kind of rude too. It's rude and all that, but
Family Guy. Oh, the cartoon.
the cartoon one,
Yeah.
yeah.
I haven't watched a lot of videos and movies lately. It's just usually YouTube videos. It's one of those come home, do your job, and then eat, and then you're having dinner and you got your phone on your hand just watching, little clips.
Yeah, because I've been watching a lot of those Netflix cooking shows, not cooking shows, but food shows, about food. And there's a few. I like the one. There's a series called Street Food, and the latest episode or the latest season they're in America.
Oh, okay.
So I think the first episode they go to Portland, in America, and there's like a big food industry there.
Yeah,
Like they're into their like food trucks.
Oh, okay.
So they got these spots around town where food trucks just converge, and they're open, and they have they've got a bar there as well. You can have a beer and have food, and you sit down and eat with your family. It's real neat.
I think I've watched the Mexican version of that.
Yeah.
Where they were in Mexico.
Yeah. I think every season is a different place.
Yeah. I think I watched a bit of it. I'm not too much of a fan of Netflix, but yeah, I've watched that.
Yeah.
It's quite interesting how they take a national dish and then they put their pizzazz on it and put their ideas on it, and then you've just got all these customers asking for it, and it takes off, sort of thing.
Did you go out with your family for dinner at restaurants and stuff? And see what they bring with their microgreens on the fancy foods and that?
I'm pretty sure we're like every other family that just visits the drive-thru. But no, we occasionally go out. I mean, finances, we do try and treat ourselves to a fine dining, but when we do, it's to experience and change of scenery. But we don't often take too much to the restaurant. I mean, why spend $5 when you can spend 20 cents on an egg? Those really expensive ones, you just sit there and it's just like, oh man, that piece of steak or that chicken breast or that drumstick was like $7, but then you look at Woolworths bag of drumsticks you can get for like $8 or something like that.
Yeah, and that's been the thing, of the grocery prices going up.
Yeah,
I mean, man, I remember going to Pack and Save and looking at my trolley's not even full, probably half, not even half, and you can still see the bottom.
Yeah,
and it's like almost $100.
Yeah, inflation.
Man, I remember when $100 was a full trolley.
Full trolley.
Back in the days, but
different times, and just.
So with inflation, have you adjusted with your product for inflation and all that? Because obviously the soil must have went up. Everything, your expenditures would have went up too.
So we follow the trend as well. It takes us a little slow to adjust. Because our customer base is quite small. Compared to a big company. You got your everydayers that come in and like, oh, your microgreens have gone up in price. I said, price inflation, sorry, dirt is expensive, the seeds have gone up, the seed prices have gone up, even the power. And then they, kind of, sympathize with you and they goes, oh, you're not wrong there. So, you kind of just gauge on that from a marketing perspective and just try and make them feel sorry for you sort of thing. But, at the end of the day, it's true fact,
So the power bill, man.
The power bill is just massive. That's why I'm like one of those wolves that come out at night and start looking for any lights that are left on. I was like, why is this light on?
I don't know, but man, I changed my power company, and it's $200 cheaper a month. Fuck. So
Who are you
I'm
with?
now with their Frank power. Frank, I think it's called Frank Electrical or Frank something. Frank.
Well, we're with Power Shop or something, and so the wife pays.
Because
I
that
mean, the
comes with
power.
the internet. No? There's one that comes with the internet or something like that. But man, yeah, I forgot what it was. Oh, it was a Glowbug or something.
Oh,
Is that
we
why?
left those guys years ago.
Is that why?
Yeah, man, they're quite expensive.
Fuck.
Because they run on technology as well. So, you know, they come in and they stick a meter on your thing. You know, I remember that. It was quite high. I didn't know why, but yeah, no, we still got that thing sitting in the power meter. They never came back and got it.
Well, I got the I didn't get the meter one, but I got the one that they just monitor. But yeah, I got rid of them, and then $200 cheaper a month. I was like, what? Got ripped off, man. So Frank, whatever it's called, Frank something.
Yeah, there's a lot more options out there, I suppose. You know, but at the same time, they're all kind of, you know, working together. I mean, they're all the same lines, just different providers, I suppose.
You know, with your water, so you get to obviously is that ongoing? The water like always going.
Well, we're doing it manually at the moment,
Oh, right.
so we're using just normal tap water. We've introduced a filtering system, so you know we should really get into the pH levels of water. But again, you know, it's neither here nor there at this stage. But it's something that will contribute to making the microgreens a lot stronger and healthier, or might make them last longer. So there's a lot of study behind types of pH levels that you want to put inside your microgreen sort of thing. But for us, you know, it's filtered waters is enough, and it meets the organic lovers, you know. Whereas is this organically grown? Like, well, it's got no pesticides or herbicides, because I mean that's what you want to really focus on is getting away from all the chemicals. So we don't use any of that stuff. So it's just natural water, and we do it manually just with a water gun. So we've got two settings, just shower and misting. So yeah, it's all about just using those sort of settings just to try and minimize, you know, wastage, I suppose.
I remember watching this documentary called Food Inc. It's a few years ago, but it was about the farms in the States, and the seeds. The seeds are like they're like trademarked.
Yeah, I have heard of that, and I've read a little bit about it. It again was in the cannabis sort of scenario. A lot of seeds are genetically engineered.
And so the company that did them, they own it.
Yeah.
You can't use it or something. Yeah. Or if
You can use it, but they have royalty rights to it. So
That's right.
if you buy, they earn a little portion of what you paid for. So like you paid $10 for a sack of seeds or something, and they'll get $1 or something.
So in America, what was happening that a farm would buy it, and then somehow the seeds will go next door to the other farm, and then they'll come and claim the royalties from the other farm, even though they didn't buy the seed. But nah, my seeds are there.
Yeah.
They do those ones.
When I was reading up on a lot of that information when I was doing my certificate, I didn't realize that New Zealand has the same thing.
Do we?
Yeah. You can't just go and grow a particular type of, you know, if you wanted to raise an orchard and you wanted to raise apples, you had to, you know, go through the people that own or, you know, have rights to that particular variety. From what I understand, they grow from grafts. And then not a lot of people grow from seed. And if they do grow from seed, it'll be the science sort of side, where they'll grow from seed and then they'll splice it, and then they'll try and, you know, develop another type of sort of variety.
So the seeds you use, that could be trademarked, and then you got to give royalty to that.
I don't give royalties, but the company that probably supplies us with the seeds probably pays an X amount to distribute it. So from my end, I've already paid it when I receive it. sort of thing.
Oh, right.
So we don't
Yeah,
we
the
don't see any of that.
the supplier pays for the.
Yeah, so
Oh.
the total of the on cost comes to me. So I'm paying, $170 for 10 kgs of seed, and a portion of the money that I pay will probably go to that. And
Yeah.
I don't know, I don't see that side of thing because they're the ones supplying it. So it really should go there. So they're just on.
Because that documentary, when they explained it, the seeds
Yeah.
in America, how they trademark, it was like real dodgy.
Oh,
Like, it was their way of trying to make money, you know.
make money. I mean,
And then if you refuse, they will get people down there and try and
I don't think,
force you to
Yeah.
not grow it or use it or something.
Oh, there's. I've heard of stories in the cannabis world where a lot of the medicinal sort of side that does happen, where people are growing marijuana for medicinal purposes, and in comes the person or the company that owns the rights or certified to grow these only, and starts messing with that company sort of thing. I don't think it's happened in New Zealand, but I think every country has a seed database,
Right.
that are owned and run by different corporations. It's just royalty rights. I mean, it's
Yeah.
intellectual rights sort of thing. So if someone's developed something and that person wants to benefit from it, and I agree with it. I mean, if you want to grow navel oranges or mandarins, a particular type, you go through the people that supplies it, and you ask yourself the question, why are the prices different? And they're all oranges, but it's just different sort of nutrient levels, different taste, different sort of styles, big sizes, blah blah blah, kind of thing. Seedless,
I guess it's just weird that they'll take a natural thing like seeds and that's mine. But business wise, it makes sense.
I don't think there is anything called natural seeds anymore. A lot of it's seeds that are extracted from genetically modified sort of vegetables already. I do remember watching a documentary where there was this cannabis. Again, cannabis. I seem to know a lot about this stuff. Where this cannabis seed king went over to Africa looking for the most natural seed out there to try and reclaim the rights to the original sort of strain, the untouched strain that was was never genetically modified. And they'd bring it back, they'd grow it, and in a controlled atmosphere, because cross pollination is how some plants mutate. And again, so they grow this thing, and then it's not registered in a database of some sort, and then they'll claim it, sort of thing.
It's
And
theirs.
yeah, and then they'll off a couple of $100 to the natives or the locals that help them find this particular plant, and then they'll start selling it in the States, sort of thing. But again, it's like gold mining, I suppose. You pay your royalties to the person that owns the land, and what you find is yours, sort of thing. And I guess that's with seeds. If nobody really owns seeds, but if you manufacture a particular type of strain and you put a patent on it, or own the rights, then it kind of gives you that intellectual mindset that I'm the only one that can grow that, and I can take you to court, because in the States you can pretty much sue for anything.
Yeah. Is that something you would look into, like trying to develop your own seed?
Nah, different ball game. Yeah,
Another level.
Nah,
You
different
need
level.
thousands of dollars.
Oh, it's not about funding. It's just that's a whole different sort of knowledge base sort of thing. Having to deal with grafting and seed manipulation. Because touching on the subject, that is quite sophisticated, and it has its own sort of complications. But in terms of microgreens, nah. But that's all for me, mate.
But now you can get real deep, when it comes to agriculture. Like,
Somewhat. I mean, I don't know everything, and I'm not qualified, but I dabble at it, and it's what I do. I like to dabble in a lot of subjects.
I remember because I read this book about human history, and when humans discovered agriculture, that was a big milestone, eh?
Which culture?
Agriculture.
Agriculture.
When they discovered it.
And
started to.
Well, that's when they realized they could stay put instead of following herds.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And I think the movement of animals played a lot in how humans, moved from one continent to another.
Well, that was sort of like the end of hunter gathering, when they discovered the agriculture, because they would just grow, they know to grow and stuff like that. No?
Kind of like the American Indians would do the same similar thing, but I think they used to follow the buffalo, and it just goes around in a circle sort of thing around the plains.
See, this is stuff you post on your Facebook, man.
So we're here to talk about microgreens, man. Yeah. Nah, I like to dabble and talk about it, but yeah.
So have you always been a fan of science at school, and you just love it now later on in life when you realize it's interesting?
I have a cousin that came over from American Samoa who loves science, but later got into art. And we spent a lot of time just before the internet. We used to sit there and research out of I don't know if you remember the Britannica encyclopedias. that was sort of what the old man bought for us.
My mom, she just rang me up a couple of weeks ago to ask me, "Oh, do you still want your Encyclopedia Britannica?"
You still got that, man?
I said, "Oh man, you can just throw that out."
Nah, keep it, man.
You reckon? Have
a look online, man. Those are like.
You reckon?
You might get someone that will buy it for just a mantelpiece sort of thing rather than read it. It's
because we had they had a big clean out of my house because my old man, he passed away too back in July, but we had a big clean out. And there's a skip outside the house. It's still there.
Yeah.
For the rubbish and that. And but my mum rang up a couple of weeks ago. "Son, do you want your Britannica Encyclopedia set?" I said, "Oh, nah, throw it away." So it might be in the skip right now. But are you saying? Do you know if it's
have a look on Trade Me? I mean, there are people out there that they're saying other people's trash is someone else's treasure. I mean, touching on that subject, I mean, I used to have an Optimus Prime, Transformer toy.
Yeah.
And that thing is now worth about $6,000. The 1980, figurines.
I remember that.
And even the G.I. Joes. So, I mean, those things are, priceless. There'll be people out there that'll be hunting for them. Even the Master System, I wish I had my Master System. Those things are selling for like $300-$400 now.
How they?
For the Poindexters and,
I want to get a VCR. Because I want to get some tapes to watch. Yeah. I still got my old tapes from home. Like, I used to tape off the TV.
Yeah.
All these music videos and all these other videos.
RTR Countdown.
And all that stuff. So, I don't know if they sell them anymore. Might have to look on Trade Me.
Yeah. It'll probably be classed as some sort of vintage. There's an idea. Put up a website. Vintage Me.
Do you have a website?
Yep. OFEMNZ.co.nz.
Did you make it yourself or?
I started off making it myself, but I roped a friend in.
Right.
And it's all about connections, and a good friend of mine, said to me once when he was building his business, is if you don't know what you're doing, find someone that knows how to do it and focus on other things. So,
delegating.
Yeah. So that's what I try and do, without, spending too much money, try and minimize costs, but reach an objective to where we want to be, sort of thing. And then, the rewards come later.
Yeah. Yeah. Because, man, when I was looking for a website place, I didn't want to go get someone else to do it because it will cost money. But then option lights are pretty expensive too. But it's that it's not Squarespace, but it's the other one, Wix. The Wix.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they got some good platforms, good templates.
Yeah.
For me, I get mine hosted through a friend's server for free, and we use WordPress.
See, you're IT, so you know all the tricks.
Oh,
You know
yeah.
all the tricks.
So I just use 2 gigs of his space, and again, don't forget me if you take off. So he's not using the space, so I jump in there and then I set it up, and then I get someone else to, run the software that runs it. And I've dabbled at it. I started it off, but I've just got too much time, not enough time to try and focus on one thing. So I try and get someone else to do it, and put someone on board. So I've got a little friend of mine that does that, and he shows me what he's capable of, and so, mate, it's your baby, do it. I'll just throw the information, you post it on how you like, and then that gives me time to focus on processes and getting, certificates and qualifications through for the business. I mean, learning to become a director is just, every day I'm learning something different, talking to people that I'd never speak to about, getting prerequisites for the business. And it's fun at the same time, but, mind-boggling, because, the person on the other side of the phone is like, who's this ring?
So do you have to do those cold calls and stuff like that?
Yeah, well, unfortunately, you just got to get out there and, try and get your name out. So it's not going to happen if you just sit around. But, at the moment, the main idea for me is to try and focus on building our brand. And then once we have the brand and we've got all the tools, we can then start, sending out the brand to franchises, and then at the same time build an accommodation that can supply this chain that we're starting to, build at the front. So, the more customers we have, the more we need more real estate sort of thing. And I think just trying to find that balance, you'll find that in a lot of the data that we bring in. And so someone has to go through all that data, how much seeds we need, how much punnets we sold, how much yield we used, how much water we used, how much power is going through, all these little finer details, when you minus everything, then you have this little chunk of change, and that's what we made, sort of thing, and it depends after, all the bills have been paid. And the whole idea is just to try and grow that, but at the same time, share and get the brand out.
Yeah, it's part of business that people probably don't want to deal with, but they have to.
Yeah,
Those little things, and then you try to do it yourself, and there's people out there you can hire to sort that out. But at a small scale, you can't.
Yeah.
You can't.
It all comes at a cost. I mean, if you've got deep pockets, you can do anything. If you've got good friends, you can achieve it as well. I mean, most of my accomplishments are through the help of good friends, different deeds in their abilities and specialties, contribution helps me inch forward, sort of thing, and I draw their strengths.
On your website, can you order your product?
In
From
progress, yeah, in progress.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, this just so happens that my web designer rang me up and goes, when do you want to start selling? I was like, well, we don't want to start selling to anybody. So we want to structure it, again, finding what we want to do that doesn't put the business in a strife. We don't want to be, catering to the 1 or 2 punnets. We want to be dealing with, a good lucrative sort of income where everyone's happy. If we're selling like 20, 30 punnets, we look after these people, but we don't want to give an opportunity when we're making ourselves stressed out over Uber runs, sort of thing. I mean, again, you got to try and focus on what builds capital and revenue rather than trying to meet the demand of every Tom, Dick and Harry out there. Because, I mean, if you start doing that, then the wheels start falling off. So you just got to try and find that balance where everyone's happy. And I think that's where I try and put my expertise in and say, okay, well, we don't want to emphasize too much on this, and just being real about it,
Yeah.
Like I'll stand up here and I'll probably dog some of the customers and say, oh, nah, you guys can't do this. And from a customer level and from a supplier level, I'll go, well, we can't do this because of these reasons, sort of thing. But, trying to find a sweet spot where the business isn't under strain or stress, and where the customer isn't waiting or have a demand in there,
You know what you're saying makes total sense, and it's refreshing because when you start talking about we don't want to just sell to anybody, normal person will go, well, why? You're supposed to sell to everybody.
Yeah.
Isn't that the whole goal, making money? But you're right. All the factors that you say to help you grow, you can't just jump in. Is that your IT experience coming through? Is this your experience in IT, trying to solve problems, knowing when the problems will happen in the future, and knowing how to take care of it now so it doesn't happen later on?
Probably yes and no. I mean, a lot of it has to do with just self-training. And again, from an analytical perspective, you learn these things and sometimes you don't even know you're learning it, sort of thing, and it just kind of falls in just by learning from others and life skills and just knowledge, really. And then you just take all this knowledge, put it together, fine-tune it, and then implement it. And if it doesn't work, fine-tune it again, sort of thing, until it works. Microgreens, just growing the stuff is hard enough. You ask anybody that grows it as a hobby. You'll have some people that, have great success. Others just don't have any success. 9 times out of 10, it's that missing component, like their lack of knowledge. And you ask a few questions and you realize, okay, it's humidity. There's too much humidity in there. Try putting it closer to a shady part of the window, and it might work, might not, sort of thing. Or it's too soggy, sort of thing. So you're overwatering it. So I think just taking that sort of example in terms of trying to fine-tune what you're trying to reach is really vital. And that's what I've learned just by, trying to put this business together and just being honest, really, just trying to, find common ground, really.
We touched on our people and our diets early on in the podcast, and I was just wondering your thoughts on. I know we talked about educating and through your product, getting it out there. But what are your thoughts on trying to help our people change their ideas of food? Try to get those numbers down, diabetes numbers down, and
I mean,
through education and that.
It's just awareness, more or less. I mean, my stepbrother is from Samoa, so again, it's a particular set of tools that I can use. His wha Samoa and his knowledge about Samoa, young fella, and it's us trying to develop something that that we can get out to the community, and it starts with home ground. And what else better to use than social media? There'll be people out there that are forever on YouTube, forever on Facebook, like me, sort of thing, and you'll come across some sort of platform that shares this sort of information, and that's what we want to try and do. So, taking all these elements, the wha Samoa, and applying it to a program for ways for people to be comfortable in terms of understanding what health benefits are. I mean, a lot of our Samoan families, especially our elders, don't understand the benefits of eating healthy. It's just, malo sele kingo sort of thing. But from a nutritional perspective, how much of this should you eat? If you eat too much bread, that fiber could be, bad for you. If you eat too much meat, that could be bad for you. And it goes that far, but there's no sort of, how do I say it? Raw data, if that's sort of thing, to try and communicate with, like, like a Samoan word for vitamini, vitamin A, B, wanga meal sort of thing, and you don't know how to explain it in the Samoan terms, and then you try and, explain it in the Palangi terms, and it kind of goes, kind of thing. It's like, I'm not interested anymore, sort of thing. And I think trying to make them comfortable, especially our elderly, starts with our language, and I think that's probably the best way, and for us to try and develop a program where we're speaking in the mother tongue and explaining things. And again, that's another sort of potential campaign we're trying to look at, because it goes hand in hand, goes with time, just ideas and putting it on paper, and then just kind of like how you would structure your podcast sort of thing. Something comes to mind, you write it down, and then your ideas start flowing, and then before you know it, you've got a script. So for us, we've got an idea, and then we put it down, and then that's how we roll with it, kind of. So again, it's just trying to, balance both sides, sort of thing. What we know in our, I would differentiate myself from the Samoans, sort of thing, because I'm a Samoan Kiwi, and we have our own culture, sort of thing. And at the same time, we acknowledge our motherland, and they do things a little bit different, not totally different, but you always find little parts of life where you don't always agree or do things a little bit differently. So I mean, that's what culture is all about, having a unique culture, and I think that's another thing that we clash in, is the differences. But again, using that information just to try and, communicate our subject or topic over like microgreens is helpful. And just finding the right words to say in terms is a challenge in itself. Like still trying to dig for the Samoa word for microgreens. Because every other word's been taken up, Mea maka is for everything green, or saalaki is for salad, and so you can't really use those words. But then the Samoa, one word means a lot of things.
Yeah. When I think about Samoan food, the typical plate you get, right? It's all carbs, right?
Yeah.
It's mostly carbs.
Mostly carbs.
I'm just thinking about what you could put this stuff on. You could put it in sapasui, maybe.
Oh, mate. Well, we
put it on fatty.
We can
coconut cream.
We've put it nice. We've put it in chop suey, just as a garnish again. Mix it in, kind of like how some families use mixed veggies. Yeah, same thing. We can do that with microgreens. We've chucked it in as an alternative to povi masimo. I mean, those things are really bad, but if you want to try and change a little bit of nutrition going into somebody, then you might as well change it and put some microgreens in there. But again, you don't want to deteriorate the nutritional value, so put it in after you boil the hell out of a piece of povi masimo.
I remember one of my aunties, she made sapsui with chopped celery in there. Man, that crunchy.
Yeah,
that extra
bad.
texture.
I've tried it. Yeah.
Man, it goes, man.
Yeah. She tried chop suey with mushrooms. That's not bad.
I haven't had that before.
Yeah, nice. Here's going back to that talk about me knowing what to do. So for me, in terms of knowing what to put in a chop suey as an alternative, instead of meat, I tried mushrooms, and it worked.
Oh yeah,
one time, and so now you just chop up mushrooms and add it if you don't have enough meat, kind of thing. So there's a bit of a tip they won't know because of the of the soy sauce.
It
So
looks
just
like
masks
yeah.
the taste. And when you crunch it, this meat tastes really nice. I lay lole mushroom.
To go vegans up sweet.
There's an idea right there.
Since you're doing microgreens, vegan menus, vegan anything vegan come to like being it's sort of like in your periphery now more than has been before?
Well, we sell at Shed Collective at Aratia, and that's all vegan based. And we've learnt a bit, you know.
Have you met any of those activists, those vegan?
Yeah, you get a couple of them. I mean, you're there. I mean, at the end of the day, you put your your seller hat on and customer service hat on. You know, you cringe sometimes. You know what they say. You know about how we treat animals, and I mean they're right in some perspective, but at the same time, you know, population is growing, and we've got to find ways of meeting demand. Again, that balance thing that we talk about. And they have their own opinions in terms of what we shouldn't do and should do. But you kind of just, nut them over and say, oh, would you like a radish? Nice and spicy. But, yeah, you get some people that are really passionate. I'd say the word passionate because, I mean, they are really passionate. And I don't fault them. It's just their way. I mean, we're here to share the same world. It's just that, they're trying to impose their veganism on us. And it's like, no. I live in this world too, sort of thing. And I get it,
It's funny because me and a friend of mine, he's on this podcast too, Eric, me and him, we always go to those, they're not having it this year, I don't think, but we always go to those meat stock up at ACB Stadium. It's like if you're into slow barbecue, like brisket and ribs.
There's an owner of a restaurant up there, and he owns a truck that has a massive smoker at the back of it.
He sells their sturgeons, They're finished. They're finished.
Oh, okay.
They don't do it anymore. But there's like a convention every year up at ACB Stadium, ACB Showgrounds.
Okay.
It's called Meat Stock. And they have all the barbecue people come.
My brother-in-law went to that.
I
think it was his gift from his wife, my sister, his wife, and they were talking about it briefly. Yeah, no, I was interested in that. I didn't get any media coverage on that, so I didn't go. But
it's good.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to go next year because it's a yearly thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think they have it this year because of the COVID. They cancelled it last year. But I think this year was too hard to organize because the thing happened. Yeah. But man, I went to the first one. Me and Eric went to the first one, and we came out because by then everyone was drunk because they have bands playing as well, and I think Catch a Fire was playing. So a lot of drunk people at the end of it and walking out. There was a big protest outside. All the vegans. So what they did, they're all dressed up in like black. They had these black robes with these white masks, and they were standing there with all these laptops, open up to everyone that walks past.
Yeah.
And on the laptop was like animals getting killed. And that was the protest. But when you got a whole bunch of drunk balangis coming out, you don't
really.
It's not a really good scene. It's not a really good scene, but it was hilarious. Just the interaction there, but you can imagine the hilarious scene going on.
Oh yeah, I can imagine. I mean. Like I said, I don't want to, I have my own opinions, and the vegans have their own.
Yeah.
Not going to fault them at all. I mean, they're probably going to be the largest part of my database.
Yeah, they will be.
So, I mean, each to their own. I understand what they're trying to fight for, and unfortunately, I share a different opinion because of my, my own diets. I like a bit of meat now and then, but each to their own, they say.
Did you say earlier in the podcast that you could garnish meat on greens?
Well, it's an idea. So
yeah, this idea I never thought about.
Instead of having garnish on top of meat, you can just switch it around. Have a decent salad with those little croutons and a bit of type of seasoning or vinaigrette or what are those? What are they called? Dressings.
Bits of crispy bacon or something.
Yeah, and then have the crispy bacon, throw on top of on the salad, and that kind of transforms that dish from a different type of dish rather than the meat being the primary sort of centerpiece.
Because that was the thing with climate change, trying to slow down the meat making process of the cows and
Yeah.
bring off the methane and all that.
Ugh.
But man, that's because I heard today on the radio.
Yeah.
I think because the Minister of Foreign Affairs from India is here, trying to make a deal with us, a trade deal, because they need heaps of red meat.
Okay.
They want red meat, but I think we're not going to give them. I think there's not a deal there because of the climate change thing.
From my knowledge, it's kind of interesting why they're actually asking for meat. I mean, don't they worship the cow or something?
Yeah. No, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So, I mean, it
So
just
why are they asking for red meat?
doesn't make sense unless it's for some other reason. But again, I haven't touched on the subject, so I'd probably...
Maybe they're not allowed to kill the cow there. That's why they get the cows from other places. Or maybe when they get the meat, it doesn't look like a cow. Because you're right. You're right. You're right about that. Because there's this book by, do you know that guy from X-Files? David Duchovny? He's the guy on X-Files. Do you remember X-Files?
Yeah.
The guy that's there.
Agent Scully.
That's the woman.
Oh, it's the woman.
Agent
Mulder.
Agent Mulder. So he's written this book called Holy Cow. And it's a story about a cow that realizes she's in the she's about to be killed.
Yeah.
She's in the farm.
Slaughterhouse.
Yeah, she's in a slaughterhouse, yeah. She realizes that. So she tries to escape. So she wants to escape to India because they worship cows so that she knows she won't get killed.
Yeah. This is cartoon or something.
It's a book.
Oh, it's a book.
It's a book. So he wanted to make it into a cartoon. But he had this idea of the story and read a screenplay for the story and try to give it out there. But no one would want to make it. So he said, stuff you, I'll just write a book. So he read a book. It's called Holy Cow. And it's about that. It's a funny book because it's a short book too. It's only like 200 pages. But so the cow realizes, because the cow accidentally looks in the farmer's house in the window and sees them watching the TV, and the TV is showing a slaughterhouse. And the cow realizes, shit, I'm in the slaughterhouse. Oh no. No wonder my mum
Disappeared.
You know? So she realizes she is, so she decides to escape. So when she tells the plan to her mate,
Yeah.
and then the plan, it leaks to the pig and the turkey. So they want to come too, because the pig doesn't want to die, and the turkey doesn't want to die. So the pig wants to go to Israel or something like that, and the turkey wants to go somewhere else, but she wants to go to India. So the story is they go on a mission to escape the farm, to get to the airport, jump on a plane and go to these places.
It's kind of like Chicken Run.
Does it?
Yeah. It's about chickens that, animated chickens, of course, but set up in sort of like incarcerated, like a chicken pen. And, you know, the farmers, the wife and husband are, the bosses sort of thing, and they've got this massive chicken pen that looks like a jailhouse sort of thing. And they try and escape it sort of thing. And they later develop this plane, and they flapped their way out, and they ended up in some sort of, green area sort of thing. So it kind of looks like the same sort of scenario.
Must be. But it's funny because they ended up coming back to the farm in the end, because they realized when they end up at these places, it's bad, because they go to Israel and they get sort of like, they don't want to stay there because of the conflict between the Palestinians and the Israelis, and they get locked and they somehow get into what's that part of Israel where the Palestinians live? It's there.
Palestine.
Yeah, it's bordered off, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot the name of it. But they get stuck there and they see the horror of it all, and then they get kicked out, so they escape that. And then they go to India, and the cows there are weird.
Yeah.
The cows there are too weird, so she feels left out.
Yeah.
So she decides, oh no, let's go back home. So she accepts being in the slaughterhouse. She goes back and just lives her days.
Eesh.
She sort of accepts it. But
It's kind of weird that a cow knew that India was the place to go. It must be a side part, like kind of like Star Wars. There's a reason why that happened.
so yeah, now that you've mentioned that, and I remember, I don't know why this Minister of India is here asking for red meat.
I didn't even know he was here.
Maybe red lamb or something. Red meat lamb. Maybe lamb. Maybe it's not allowed to be beef. Maybe it has to be. Can it be lamb? Or does it? It's just cow so they can't have beef.
Well, red meat is meat that's red, so there'll probably be a lot of.
Maybe it's
beef.
lamb. Maybe they want lamb. Is lamb included in the
I wouldn't know.
chicken?
All the vegans are probably, cringing at us right now. Sorry. I can neither confirm nor deny.
But yeah. To answer my my question, like, have you, like, obviously, you get into the vegan mindset of what you're selling, and you know more about. You probably can understand where they come from.
Yeah.
Like, more there.
I mean, like.
But I get what you're saying. Like, we live in the same world.
Yeah.
I don't.
For me, the product's there for everyone. What your beliefs and what you want to try and impose on me is, different to the fact that I'm here to sell microgreens, and some people do actually make an emphasis on their beliefs, and that's them. From a customer service perspective, you just got to sit there and listen to it and just say, yes, I get you. You don't want to engage too much, because then you start getting into it, and, you get drawn into the conflict then. But, for me, it's just a kind of dog-eat-dog world sort of thing, It's everyone for themselves, or, live together in harmony. You're either one side or the other side sort of thing.
Yeah, that whole conflict between vegans and meat eaters is crack up sometimes. Like when you hear stories overseas, there was this one guy in Canada. He owns a butcher, and he was getting like vegans coming to his butchery and doing protests outside the store.
Oh, they were doing it at UK. Had
Yeah.
mass sort of protest at the shopping centres.
They did it here in St. Luke's Mall. Did you see that? It happened a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
So they stormed St. Luke's countdown, and they did a chain across the meat aisle.
Did they last long?
I don't think so. Security probably.
What shopping mall?
The St. Luke's countdown.
Oh mate, try that in Mangili.
But that guy in
props
Canada.
if they do it in Mangri. Honestly,
I know.
I'll go vegan if they did it in Mangri.
But the butcher in Canada,
Yeah.
so he got protests on. He was pissed off about it. So the next day, what he did, he put he's got his front window.
Yeah.
He put a table in the front window and did his butchery in there, so everyone can see outside.
Yeah.
That was his payback.
It could be a marketing segment as well. It could be seen as I'm cutting the meat up in a nice hygienic way.
Oh, if you go to the Woodstock, they have these butcher competitions. Like they go, it's pretty cool. They I think there's different categories, different kind of meat.
Yeah.
And they have to go up stage, and they're all from different butchers around New Zealand. So Steve from Pack and Save, and
they show their little what they can do with them.
Yeah. So they come with a whole animal on their shoulder.
Yeah.
They come on the stage, and they do their thing. They're prepping, put the animal on the table and start doing it. So I think they came with a whole lamb, just hanging off their shoulder.
Yeah.
They came on stage. There was 4 of them. And they have to present it on the stage, like on their little display.
Yeah.
And they all got different types of displays and how they do it. But they have to cut up the meat, and there's different displays for different kinds of the meat cuts. So, but it's cool, man. You just watch it and just see how fast they are,
Yeah.
and see how
Meticulous. How
Yeah,
they
yeah.
get into the
yeah.
yeah.
But they do it so fast, you think, man, he knows he's done it for ages, But it's an art for me.
Yeah, I mean, again, just learning how to do it, after a few tries, you might get it or you might not. I watched, I think it's a Slaughterhouse on Wheels sort of thing. I think it's Home Kill. You know, a guy comes around and deals with your cows or whatever, and then I think they shoot it, they process it, how they process it, you know, they strip they kill it, hang it off, they gut it, you know, right there in your house, and then they prep everything and cut certain cuts of the meat, and then you've got your whole fridge full of beef cuts. So I thought that was quite interesting, you know, and this guy working with a knife, you know, just cutting limbs and, you know, just dropping off, and it went from a live animal like 5-10 minutes ago to this thing that you see in the supermarket and say, oh, that looks like a beef, you know, side, beef rump.
Yeah.
And then it just gets into different cuts, and then you get your ribs, and it's just sort of, your ribs are right there, and it's like, fuck. You know, and it's on with, you just Google home kill cow. I think it was what and then NZ.
Yeah.
And then it comes up with this real famous, you know, it's got a couple of hundred hits on it, a couple of thousand hits. And it's interesting to see how they process the meat sort of thing.
Because you can families go halves on a cowie, or go, like, chip in to buy a real cow and get them to cut it up for them, and it comes with all the...
Oh, I've heard of families doing it with a pig.
Mm.
Yeah, so they'll go halves on a pig and pretty much halve the cuts and stuff. But yeah, it must happen quite a lot. You know, we're city dwellers, so we just buy it from the supermarket. But out there in the rural areas, so I'll give you, you know, a couple of fish or a couple of, you know, produce for some of your meat sort of thing. That didn't sound right, did it?
Shucks. So what have you been up to the last couple of weeks? What have you been up to? Anything?
Yeah, no, I've just been battling a lot of mental health issues, really. Just coping with the old man.
I think it's still mental health week, I think. Well, it's finished.
Nah, it's finished. But yeah, just trying to battle those demons. But yeah, things like this just keep me occupied. It keeps me busy.
Yeah, because like I said before, my man passed away in July. And
This year?
This year, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
What day?
July, first week of July. I forgot the date.
Really?
First week. But he had cancer for 2 years. He got diagnosed 2 years ago.
Man, sorry to hear about that, man.
Yeah, no, it's when just yesterday, like my niece, she posted a photo on Facebook of her and a moment.
Yeah.
When she was a baby, and for the first time, I sort of felt like more than what I felt before. Like, because because I knew he was sick. We all knew he was sick.
Yeah.
So, last 2 years was just trying to spend as much time as we can with dad and that. So it was good. It was good, But he wasn't meant to be lasting 2 years. Thankfully he lasted for 2 years. But even when he passed away, because he passed away in his own house.
Yeah.
In his own bed with all of us around. We got to see his last breath, and even then you think, man, if that's how he wanted to go, and that's the perfect way, the perfect way for him. Not in the hospital, not at that place where they go, but in his own house, in his own bed, and that was cool. And then straight away, all the family stuff happens, all the the prep, love is straight away. So you don't really get any time to
learn.
Process anything.
No, yeah, I get you.
And it's just straight 2 weeks, just boom. Just gotta go do all this. Everyone's stressed out, gotta do blah, 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 do that. And then everyone is finished, right? We buried them, and they're finished, and I still felt the same, until yesterday. I see my niece post that photo, and then I just, I just felt it. You know, it's.
What did you feel?
I just felt just sadder than I ever felt.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't feel how I felt yesterday. I didn't feel any of that during the time after he passed away.
I guess it's true when they say that, you know, it hits you at different times, sort of thing. Just listening to you was a blessing for you to see your dad's, you know, sort of last breath and him passing at his own house. For me, it's quite the opposite. You know, he passed away in the hospital. He had no one around him. When he did pass, the doctors gave us the note, and I was with my mum. And I love my mom, but I've never really had a big relationship with my mom. My mom's always found, you know, comfort through my siblings. Yeah. I came here to talk about microgreens.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
But yeah, no, my dad passed away on the 4th of July. And so that's why it's interesting to me to hear that, because I can really relate, sort of thing. And
Nah, I think when I saw that photo, it just came
triggers.
back. Just triggered because I don't think I had the time to think about it.
Yeah.
It happened.
I think you're the oldest though. Yeah, so, you know, you just got to gear up and just, you know, lead the family, sort of thing. Whereas for me, you know, trying to battle being the eldest and trying to, you know, keep calm for your siblings and your mom, because, you know, you're about to enter the whāsā more, and you weren't really taught about it, sort of thing. But in that week, you get to learn everything, you know. But when it was happening, you know, like hokis and family gatherings, it was just like, you know, it just went over your head, sort of thing. You didn't really pay too much attention to it.
Yeah, because you didn't have time to.
Nah, you're always chilling with your cousins and stuff. You know. It was a good time to catch up with your fams.
Yeah, that's the way it is. I always, because you know, I'm like 44 now, so that's a long time to have your any one of your parents with you. You know, I've got mates and friends and cousins that lost their dad or mum like ages ago. You know, when they were young, or you know, and I can't relate to that. And I'm always thankful that my parents were still alive when I was 40. You know, and later in life, like a lot of people don't have that. So
I mean, I suppose when you put it in that perspective, it's comforting. But, you know, on the other spectrum, it's like, you know, there's so much you could have done. You know, for me, it's me battling the shoulda, coulda, woulda sort of scenario. You know, I could have done this, I should have done that. You know.
oh yeah, no, I figured that too. Like, yeah, we did have the 2 years when he got diagnosed, but should I have done more? You know, should I went another day in a week, you know, extra day in a week or things like that. But yeah, it's just I think I'm thankful that I'm this old when it happened. And if I was younger, I think it would be different.
Well, us older siblings, you know, we get to experience that. It's the younger generation, like, you know, my youngest brother, you know, he's 25. So that's what you're talking about, you know. He's going to carry on life for another, 30, 40 years. Whereas we got to experience it, you know, where we're already over the hill, sort of thing.
Yeah. I think just gotta praise God and be thankful, and that's life.
Yeah, I wasn't really a religious man, you know, during my life, but, you know, try. Just gotta try, I suppose. Yeah.
Now, sorry to hear about your old man.
Likewise.
Yeah.
It's a surprise to me. It's like, wow, same time, same sort of, month.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you did go silent for a little bit there, eh? Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, it's funny how our conversations like the deep web, sort of the deep YouTube, you kind of talk about one thing and you end up talking about aliens and and the Bible.
Well, that's the best thing about having no structure for this podcast. But it's also the hardest thing too. Because for me, I find it hard to start it.
Yeah.
Because I don't know where to start. But if I come up with something random, I hope it's going to end up somewhere random too.
Yeah.
Before we get into the nitty gritty. It happened before when this other time we started the podcast. We had this cool random conversation and it ended up to be like 5 topics.
Yeah.
And it took like 40 minutes. But the recording button wasn't on.
Is the recording button on?
Yeah,
this?
that's all. But so...
It'll probably be another year before you get me here.
Damn. So...
Or maybe the beers. No. Yeah.
But yeah,
it's been a real privilege. I mean, this is the first time I've done this. I mean, I seen my cousin do it, and she showed me her little workspace.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, this is pretty cool. And Tao was like, yeah, this is where the girls do their podcast. It's like, so are they famous? How many hits have they got? And, you just start going through all the numbers and it's like, man, is this worth it? Do you want to get into this sort of buzz? But,
I think the secret is, for me anyway, like what I like about this platform is that, it's honest conversation.
Yeah.
There's no fake. I try to be honest as I can.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't call it an interview, because I'm not, I'm giving you me as well.
Yeah,
I'm giving the person my opinion.
That's pretty cool.
It's like a back and forth thing. It's not me asking question, next question.
Like it actually feels like I'm just chatting with you as a beer sort of thing.
That's how it's supposed to be.
And every now and then it'll be like, oh shit, I'm on a podcast. Yeah.
But the long form of it is the most interesting part, because it's a thing. It's a thing. Because if you use the podcast app or whatever you use to listen to your podcast, it's made for a long form content. It's made for it, because it's not like you listen to it for the whole. If you go for 3 hours, it's not like you can listen to the whole thing in 3 hours. You're gonna be doing stuff. You're gonna be running the car. You're gonna be doing something. But there's also the pause button, and play it next time. Pause, stop. So you can get through an episode of maybe a week, So it just the technology allows you to do that. So then it doesn't matter how long it is. Because if you think about, do you read a lot of audiobooks? Do you do audiobooks?
Nah. I try not to read. Most of my stuff is just...
Or just watching
visual,
YouTube. Yeah. Because I got into audiobooks because me, I love to read.
Yeah.
But then I find myself not having the time to read.
Have you ever heard that saying, Google it?
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, it's YouTube it.
Oh, you can YouTube books too and read it for you. But
oh yeah, no, I've heard that.
Yeah, but for me, it's I go to audiobooks because it allows me to just listen while I'm doing something.
Yeah.
Not sitting down to read, but
I think I tried that with the Bible, just listening to the Bible whilst I was doing other things. But then I'm my own worst enemy sort of thing. Why am I doing this if I'm not listening or paying attention sort of thing? It's just meaningless. So that kind of died. But, yeah. Because like I said, when I want to do something, it's 100% concentration on it sort of thing. Focus on it.
Yeah, I saw it got a new take on the Bible now, eh? Because I wasn't really... I went to church growing up, but I sort of went one ear out the other.
Yeah,
sort of thing.
Like all of us.
Go eat, you leave the club at Sunday morning,
come home,
5 a.m. and go get ready for church at 11 a.m. Sleep in the church.
Yeah.
But anyway, but honestly, but most recently I've had like Let me open that one. But recently I've had this new sort of take on the Bible. And like, these are stories in the Bible that teach you how to live life, because throughout human history, these stories are from what happened before, and people know from past experience that this is the way to live life. These are all little lessons that humans have already known from the start. And if you use science to figure out something, 90% is already in the Bible. You know?
I think my take on it is just trying to marry up what we already know in terms of physically and what the Bible says on a spiritual realm, sort of thing. So it's just putting the two together. And for me, it's just a guide, you know. How you interpret that guide is probably what makes you sort of thing as a Christian, or, you know, a practicing Christian. I mean, it says that we're all sinners, so cross-tick that, you know, but how we handle ourselves going forward is probably what the Bible talks about and tries to inspire us, sort of, in order for us to live a better life and be harmonious towards others, sort of thing. I mean, that's the whole objective, is just to try not to destroy each other, sort of thing. So yeah, no, I share the same sort of, you know, unique perspective, you know, just trying to marry up science and spiritual kind of thing. And for me, one side is just a mental thing, just to keep your faith and it's all about faith, you know. And what is faith? You know, it's believing in something that you can't see and just holding on to the promise of something that is going to be received in the end of the race, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And because, that's what it is.
You know, when there's times when, you know, you see crime happening around the world, you see bad things happen, and even social media, you hear the trolls, and you hear bad feedback, and you hear people that put you down, tall poppy syndrome and all that, and you have no faith with humans. You know, when you see that kind of stuff, and especially the people around you, you sort of lose faith in people.
Notice how you said around?
Yeah.
And if now put yourself, you're on this focus on people, and you're on this focus of what's around you. But if you broaden your horizon, so they say, you start to realize that the problems on this little bit of dust is nothing compared to the magnitude of what's around us. I mean, there's this video of the camera panning out from, I think, America, and it pans out from America to the continent, to the earth, and then it pans out to the moon, sort of where roughly the earth and the size of the moon, the distance, and then it pans out further towards the solar system, sort of thing. And then from the solar system, it pans out to where the solar system is in the, you know, our star constellation of, I think it's
Milky Way,
Pisces. It's just a star constellation, sort of thing. And then the Milky Way, sort of thing. And then it goes out where the Milky Way is, you know, theorized to be in the whole universe, sort of thing. And then that one universe is in some sort of number of, you know, your distance between what they call the center of, you know, the universe, sort of thing. And it just makes you think, wow, you're going out at light speed at the time of, you know, when you're panning out, it's like 15 seconds. And in that 15 seconds, you know, 100 billion years went by that fast in that little clip, sort of thing. If you can grasp that sort of theory, then you realize we're that far away from Earth. And, you know, we're worried about, you know, minuscule things. You know, we're worried about things on this, you know, rock, sort of thing. And to me, when you get to that point and you understand and you get to that sort of level of mentality, you realize You know,
It's
everything
nothing,
that
eh?
we bicker and moan about
There's nothing
Yeah, it's
compared to the.
to the whole galaxy sort of thing, you know. And
But
for me,
even mortality too,
yeah,
because we're only on this earth for a certain amount of time.
percentage, which is not even a blink in time, you know,
And then we're gone.
and then we're gone.
So it makes sense to me, thinking that you gotta just make the most of it
Yeah,
during that small speck of time that we're here.
yeah. I mean, you know, what scientists theorize about, you know, how old the Earth is and all that. You know, you just put yourself in that sort of shoe, and you say, well, if the Earth can survive that long, well, who are we, sort of thing, you know? And if we can destroy it that fast, and I'm pretty sure it can rejuvenate itself, it's been here longer than us, any living being, sort of thing. So, then it comes down to a theory of a life force, sort of thing, and again, different sort of, you know, heartbeats, sort of thing in the solar system, and blah 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 blah. And for me, it's kind of like, you know, when you broaden your horizons past what we understand, and you kind of realize, it's like, man, what we, you know, take for granted here is just not even a blink of an eye, sort of thing, and the whole time continuum. And so you kind of you're left asking these questions: why do we, you know, exist for this portion of a point, you know, of a second, sort of thing, in comparison to the rest of the universe, sort of thing.
You remind me of that. Did the Voyager, that satellite that they took off ages ago
Yeah.
to just keep on going, and they've got like
It's left. It's left the solar system for now.
yeah. It's gone past it's gone past Pluto, eh?
Yeah.
But they programmed it to, when they passes Pluto, they programmed it to turn around and take a photo of Earth.
Oh.
And
okay.
so there's a photo of it's just space and all the stars in that.
And the stars.
And then you see a blue dot. Just a blue
That's
dot.
Earth. Yeah.
That's Earth. So it's like the small blue dot.
I've seen a picture where there's the rings of Saturn as it was going. I think they did the same thing when it was just passing Saturn. Something. So you got Saturn right there, and then behind it is a dot that they said was Earth. But again, for me in my head, I'm calculating, well, how long did it take for that to happen? Because I mean, you know, we're all gonna die before the full circle of, the full, when Saturn reaches its full sort of rotation around the sun. You know, I think it takes about a couple of 100 years or something like that before it makes a full cycle. So it'll be long gone. So it was kind of interesting for me in my head. I was like, well, how did they figure that out? Did they actually follow Saturn just to take that picture, sort of thing, or did they triangulate and mathematically calculated, by 2020, you know, Saturn should be here, and you know, and the satellite should be here. We can take that photo right there.
Otherwise, they'll be asking their grandkids to document it.
Well, from what I understand, they use a slingshot sort of motion from one planet to another, and they just fire it off, and then it swings itself using some sort of pull or something, and then it moves to the next sort of closest object it can swing off. Yeah.
Now, these are perspectives that sort of teach you where you are in this world, you know, and it helps you figure out what you're trying to do or what you could do, you know. Like if you I say, if you're worried about stuff, then look at it in this perspective and see where you come up with after that. You know, when I think about people and I might lose faith in people, like what I understand now is, if I look to the Bible, right, that I gain faith again, because humans already figured it out, problems like this, you know, and it's all in the Bible. And for me, because I heard about the science thing called the Matthew effect. So the Matthew effect comes from the book of Matthew, but it's an actual science thing. It's a scientific theory, and they took the name from the book of Matthew, because the book of Matthew, I forget what verse it is, but it talks about how success, it talks about cumulative advantage. So if you feel if you gain a little bit of success, then opportunities will come from that. And then if you grab those opportunities, then you'll get more success, and then more opportunities will come. So it will just be accumulative. So it will start small, but it'll just keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and you'll get more. You get more and more advantage. So for
Just
example,
being positive or something. Yeah.
or just you get more opportunities, but it depends on how you take those opportunities. You'll get more opportunities. So example is like sports, right? So if you train more than your teammates, then you're gonna get a little bit more skills, which means your opportunity will be more game time, or your coaches will pick you, and another coach will pick you, and you'll move up. So see that accumulative advantage will happen. It's that principle is for anything. Like you do the work, you get more advantage, you get more opportunity, and they'll just keep going on and on and on. So it's not about. So if you're sort of like lazy, then you won't get any opportunity.
Yeah.
Opportunity won't come your way
Mm-mm.
because you're not doing anything.
What is that saying? You do the mahi, you get the rewards.
Yeah. That's exactly it. But see, it takes scientists to figure that out, and then realize, oh fuck, it's already in the Bible. Let's call it the Matthew effect, because it's in the book of Matthew, and there's a passage in there, I forgot what verse, but that's what it talks about. So that means that humans already figured it out. You know.
I think it's just a book of, again, it could be a book of, hidden messages, how we've interpreted the Bible, comes in many forms. There's one side that would talk about the Bible, a particular passage in the Bible, and will, and interpret that sort of passage or story in a different way that someone else would. And I guess that's what's probably hard for some of us, or the younger generation, trying to grasp Christianity, how it's presented to them, where it's forced on them, like us when we were growing up, something local. It was always the famous words that your mum and dad always, or it'd be the salu or the se vai on your head, get up, church, sort of thing. And it was just clockwork sort of thing, You just grew up and you just got immune to it. And it's like, well, why am I even going to church? There was no real emphasis on learning it apart from, Sunday school. But yeah, when you start to engage in it, then you start to realize there are different sort of, aspects in the Bible that, can help you, progress forward in your life. And it's just up to you on how you interpret those, stories. I mean, I think the main stories, be good, and all the commandments and all that sort of stuff is like given sort of thing. But, all the other stories have hidden meaning behind it, and you just got to get reading to understand it. And if you draw a conclusion that's positive, then I think the Bible's reached its made its point, or got you across, sort of thing.
Did its job for you.
Yeah. I mean, it's not for me, I've seen a lot of I've heard of a lot of people talk about it, and then I go off and I hear other people talk about it. Same sort of story. It draws the same similar sort of what's the word? Ending sort of thing, conclusion. But it's just come through a different way, sort of thing. So I think that's how I interpret the Bible, is that, if you can interpret the Bible and have positiveness coming out of it, then, I think, it works for you. And
do you think you can interpret it negative way as well? Do you think people do?
Well, I mean, there's when I've read the Bible in some parts, I've drawn a conclusion where what brought this about, sort of thing. Why did he choose his disciples? I mean, they were a bunch of sinners, they were thieves, they were liars, But you draw the conclusion and say, well, maybe this is a parable or some sort of metaphor to say, that just because you were this doesn't mean you can change, sort of thing. So like you could be the badass on earth, kind of like, is it Saul? He used to kill, a lot of Christians or something, King Saul or something like that, and he changed his name later on. He became a Christian, and kind of, with time, his good deeds kind of outweighed what he did in the past, sort of thing. So, mankind learns to love you. And it kind of draws me to that sort of, that character on Walking Dead. That guy with the baseball bat. Negan.
Negan, yeah.
He's the most hated character, in the beginning where he smashed up all the main characters. And again, as it progressed forward, he, started to we started to learn about him, and we started to know what he was like and why he was like that, and then it started opening up his life and dissecting and taking it to pieces, and then you realize he was just human, and certain factors in his life drew him to what he did, and him being around positive people, he started to dig deep and realize he did wrong, and all he could ask for was for forgiveness. And he actually teamed up with the worst person that hated him the most, and that was the partner of
the Asian guy.
Of the Asian guy. And that story in itself can be drawn from the Bible, sort of thing.
Is there redemption?
Redemption, or forgiveness, sort of thing. It's a hard thing to swallow, and that's something that people nowadays just finds it hard to do. You can say sorry, but sorry is a word that doesn't mean anything nowadays. It's just taken for granted. Like you hear it all the time. Oh, sorry then. Oh, I'm so sorry, sort of thing. But you don't mean it, sort of thing. And I guess just watching that sort of movie, it amalgamates. It's about your actions rather than just saying it, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I think that sort of take on the Bible, if you actually live it, then you can actually achieve what the Bible is trying to teach you or install in you. And I think that's how we should all take the Bible, sort of thing. Just don't literally take it word for word, but find your own way, sort of thing, in the Bible.
Or try to find the meaning of what they're trying to say.
I mean, at the end of the day, what is the meaning of life, they say? It's in the Bible somewhere. You just got to figure it out.
Yeah. That Negan take is interesting because it's ironic that he still lived when he got caught, because the only reason why he still lived, the only reason why they didn't kill him, because they wanted him to suffer.
Yeah.
But that was his road to his redemption.
But the thing is that he still suffers because he still, in his mind, has to carry that cross. So be it to say that, what he did in the past was wrong, but in his mind, he justified it because he was protecting, X amount of people, sort of thing, even though that they were, running life in a bit of a different way. And again, that's an example that you can amalgamate and interpret the Israeli and Palestinians. Palestinians were there. You read the history about that and you kind of think,
it's the same thing.
It's the same thing, sort of thing. But, it's just happened the other way around. It's like, well, this is our promised land, this is what the Bible says. And then we have this, from an Israeli perspective, it's like, yeah, I agree with you. But then from a Palestinian perspective, it's like, well, I agree with you too because of these reasons. And you just open up a whole can of whoop-ass on yourself, and you don't know who to take sides with, sort of thing. And that's why, they're at war, for, I don't know, 100 plus years now, or something like that. They're still warring at each other,
It's like the Irish and the Protestants, Protestants and the Catholics and the Irish versus England. The
North Korea and South Korea.
That's... See, I always like to see both sides of any story. Yeah. And if I take spirituality out of the Bible, what I can see from the Bible is it's already figured out human nature, right?
Yeah.
Because the stories are repeated in history over and over again.
Yeah.
Because we either don't learn from history, or our human nature just. That's why we repeat it. Because human nature goes that way. You know, unless we know, unless we interpreted the Bible, these stories, the way positively,
Yeah.
we won't repeat the bad things that happen all the time.
I mean, you know, that story of the flood, you know, is a classic. You know. Then you watch today's movies, you know, the potential of an asteroid hitting, you know, the sea and then raising the water level sort of thing. That could potentially be something that relates to the floods. You know, it might have had you know, an asteroid hit the Earth back in those days, and it's gone through the ages and it's changed like Chinese whispers. So and it's gone from an asteroid hitting, you know, the Earth to rain for hundreds of years.
Because then it's just diverted asteroid or something.
Was that?
They diverted the asteroid just recently.
No. They collided something at 15,000 kilometers to see if it'll move.
Yeah, because it wasn't going for Earth. It wasn't heading to Earth anyway.
Nah,
They just wanted.
Apparently it's a fragment of a larger asteroid that was, you know, kind of like a dwarf sort of thing going past. And so they slammed, I think it was a old satellite or something, at 15,000 kilometers an hour. What I'm interested in is where was the second camera watching it do that sort of thing, you know? I mean, tracking, you know, through, you know.
Tracking where, because they need to measure where the trajectory. Yeah.
Because I mean, where the trajectory ends is where the impact stops, sort of thing. You just kind of zoom into those pixels. But, yeah. I honestly don't know why they did it, but I need to read into it. But they.
I thought they did it because they wanted to know if they could actually move something that's heading to us.
Well, I mean, if that was the case, we're still waiting on an answer, I suppose, because they successfully hit it, but there was no data from it that, you know, the outcome, did it move or what?
Do you get into all the stuff like Elon Musk and all that? Do you follow Elon Musk?
Not heavily, but, you know, he's another great mind, you know.
Yeah.
He's got innovative ideas, you know, trying to make life better. You know, he's on a bigger ball game, trying to make the world better place.
I don't know where he's at with his underground tunnel in LA. He's trying to solve the traffic problem over there.
Oh, okay.
I don't know where he's at with that.
I haven't heard about it. You know, most of stuff I've heard about is his rocket sort of technology.
Because he put a Tesla up in space thing.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he sent a Tesla up into space and he put a doll, a mannequin, in the driver's seat. It was a drop top too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like flying, like going in space.
Some people just have too much money. I'd like to send something up. I've never heard of that, but like that's interesting. I'll look that up tonight.
Yeah, he's did some other stuff. He's did that, and then he bought Twitter for a little while. I don't think he owns it anymore. I think he wanted to buy it so he can change the rules around it.
Yeah.
Because he wanted people to not get cancelled. So he'll buy Twitter and then put everyone back on that got cancelled. Because he believes in free speech and stuff like that. But, sorry, man. It's been a pleasure having you on the podcast, brother.
Yeah, man. I really appreciate it.
Hope you enjoyed yourself.
No, I did. I was just like, man, I've got some seeds that I've got to grow, and my wife is probably ringing me.
All good, man.
But yeah, no, I really appreciate it. And I'd like to thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about microgreens and a whole raft of subjects, man. It was pretty cool. I didn't expect that, and I was just freestyling.
Yeah, man.
It's rawest.
That's what it's all about, man. But so to our listeners, where can they find you on social media, and where can they see you and buy some of your beautiful microgreen products?
Oh, we've got a website called OFE, so www.ofemnz. So That's our website. It's still under development, but it's got all the information that you need of how to get a hold of us. We're on Facebook, OFE Microgreens, and Instagram. We sell at Huckleberry's Organic Farms. So there's a store out in Newland and Greyland that stock our product. We're available at Oratia Markets, Shed Collective, just near Nola's. So we sell there at the vegan markets, and Parnell Farmers Market. And we've just joined the gastro markets out in Parnell as well, which is a collaboration of cafes and restaurants and other organic products. And that it used to be called the French markets. So there's a lot of cafes, restaurant type sort of.
So the
stands.
alleyway, back in there's heaps of.
It's a car park.
Oh.
Yeah. So I don't know too much about its history and stuff, but I've met the new manager, Richard Casey. He's a nice man, a really good fellow. So he's offered us some position there, and so we're there, and we just want to try and work with them to try and promote our product and meet our objectives and stuff. We can order online for big salad dishes and stuff, but yeah, just give us a bell and yeah. But yeah, not much of a talk about, you just watch my animations come around to my social medias.
Are you going to do some animations?
Yeah.
Oh, sweet.
Doing a few.
This is for advertising?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Bought Doodly for a couple of $100.
Yeah.
And Animaniacs or something. Just a couple of cartooniest things. I want to try and take where we're having, characters that explain, our product and not just for us Kiwis, but hopefully try and create a platform for our Pacific Islanders and Maori, hopefully push these out and have little cartoons that's enjoyable to watch, capture their audience, at the same time explain our nutrition value within our products and get them to try it, sort of thing, within a short amount of time.
That's cool, the cartoon thing, because I don't know if but before he passed away, Kobe Bryant, after basketball, he went into the film and TV industry.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what he was doing. He was using cartoons to tell a story on how to be, because about the Mamba mentality. That's his philosophy on working hard to get the reason why he's the best, like in his eyes, like he was a great basketball player, because he used something called the Mamba mentality, and that was his way of training harder than anyone else, working harder than anyone else, being committed to your goal of being the best. But you got to be a beast.
What's that called?
His one's called the Mamba mentality. The Mamba. Because
mentality.
that was his nickname in the basketball court.
Okay.
The Black Mamba, the snake, because he's deadly like that.
Yeah.
But so he developed this idea called the Mamba mentality while he was playing. And all that is a blueprint on how to be great like him, what he did. And what he did was, you can't even, no normal person would do what he did, because he's fucking crazy. Like, the amount of time he practiced overboard. Like fucking no one in the NBA would have his kind of mentality to practice like that.
Day and
night, just hours and hours. And he would learn, he'll join a tap dancing class to get new moves of his footwork.
Yeah.
But tap dancing, because he'll do stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like out the gate things to improve his game.
Chinko, I think, did ballet for a little while.
Yeah.
And then he wasn't allowed to come back to boxing. I think there's a story, or if it's true or not. He wasn't allowed to come back to boxing until he had his footwork right, or something like that.
Yeah.
So he could control his feet.
Yeah. So things like that.
Yeah.
So after he retired, he had to do a new career. So he decided to get into the film and TV industry, and what he did was he was making these cartoons, and these cartoons were stories around his Mamba mentality. So it was sort of an educational thing to help kids like get their goals earlier. So yeah, that reminded me of that. That's pretty cool. Just one more thing. Nola's.
Yeah.
What's happening there? Do you know any inside scoop there? Because it's just what are they gonna build there?
I wouldn't be surprised if it's more housing.
Yeah. Because what did they do? Did they sell their land or something?
I wouldn't know.
Because they had that fire, eh?
I didn't even know about that.
Oh.
To me, Nola's is a standpoint where a lot of people in our culture knows where the Opiki apples started off. But I don't know anything about other than I thought it was still open, to be quite honest.
Yeah, now it's a big construction site.
Sure. News to me, mate.
Because where's your RTL one? Around there? Eh?
Further down.
Oh, yeah.
So go past the 2 roundabouts and then I just go down.
Oh, yeah.
Angle.
Shout, man.
Nice shot, man. Thanks a lot. Make sure you eat these microgreens.
Thanks, brother.
Yeah. Should have it with heavy beef.